User joined your channel.
Okay, I believe we are live, and if we are, welcome to the Bones Racing Firecracker 400 tonight at the Daytona International Speedway to kick off the Season 2 of the Pros Racing Series, the Super Truck Pro Series tonight, getting set for 160-lap night affair. 400 miles is tonight's scheduled distance, and welcoming you up into the broadcast booth here this evening. My name is Evan Pizocco, and we're getting set once again out in the trucks under the lights at the Daytona International Speedway. We are currently pacing down the back straightaway and could run you through the qualifying order before we get set here. Coming out of corner number 2 right now, and on pole position is going to be Jay Anderson in the number 18 machine. Craig White in the number 10 will start in second. Again, the top 13 drivers have taken time in qualifying. They were the drivers that did participate in a Thursday night heat race that was won by the Daniel Miller machine. Harold Decker is starting in third, Mike Costa in fourth, Connor Anton in fifth, George Bark, the defending series champion, in position number 6, Logan Clampett in seventh, David Adamson in eighth, Jeremy Crandall currently sits ninth, and he's mowing a little bit of grass down there in 3 and 4. James Hickson will be starting in the number 10 position. Brent Lee in the number 31 going to be starting in 11th. Daniel Miller, again winner of the heat race, starts in 12th. And Rodney Smith in the number 96 machine will be starting in position number 13. That rounds out the number of cars that have taken time in the qualifying session. Total here tonight, 27 cars getting set to go green flag racing. This time by as the pace car gets ready to dive down to the inside, and there he goes down to pit road. Field in the hands of the 18 of Jay Anderson. He is on the loud pedal as the green flag flies, and we are racing under the lights here in Daytona. The Bones Racing Firecracker 400 is green, and quickly Craig White's going to dive down to the bottom lane, making the front lane 2 on the bottom. As that 10 car, Craig White, dives down for the outside of that front row as the 18 of Jay Anderson, pole sitter, starts to open up a little bit about a car length gap over the rest of the field. The 42 car is trying to lead the charge on the outside lane. That is George Bark after starting in position number 6. 3 cars currently on the high side. 42 is up there. That's George Bark. He has help in 24 of James Hickson with him, and then the 09 car of Daniel Miller. Those are the only 3 trucks now on the high side, as working through 3 and 4. A little bit of a wiggle from the 44 of Harold Decker, sitting third in line on the bottom, as everybody tries to spread themselves out. Right now the whole field is coming down through, and it is going to be the 18 of Jay Anderson who completes, and he is the leader of lap number 1. The entire field, or most of the field rather, within about 2 seconds of each other. A couple cars that have dropped off of pace. Mike Costa, David Adamson, a couple of those drivers, Kerry Cleaver and Robert O'Neill also. So cars 24 through 27, the back 4 of them have dropped a little bit off pace, but tonight is a very long race, a long way to go before these things get wrapped up. If you're seeing 170 laps on the ticker tonight's race, again, 160 laps for 400 miles in tonight's affair, 2.5 miles every lap around this Daytona International Speedway. A couple extra laps in case we need 3 shots at a green-white checker attempt, but on the high side, it's going to be Connor Anton coming across to lead lap number 2 as they take 3. He has help from the 23 car. That is Logan Clampett. Those guys up on the outside lane. The 18 of Jay Anderson continues to lead the inside charge. He still has help from the 10 of Craig White. And those 2 cars on the high side break up a little bit in 3 and 4. That allows the 18 of Jay Anderson to once again hold high on that inside lane. Now everybody's hooked up. We got another two-car battle coming up into this. Two more tandems into the mix. The 42 of George Bark with help from the 73 of Jeremy Crandall. Those two cars going to check up as they get up behind that second draft on the outside lane. Did not want to make it 3 wide quite yet, as they are currently only working lap 3 in tonight's long affair. And Jay Anderson will once again retain the number 1 spot, this time by the start-finish line, as the drivers go on to take lap number 4. And again, tonight's affair still 160 laps to go. The Super Truck Pro Series starting season 2 here with the Pros Racing Series. And again, Bones Racing Firecracker 400 is in effect tonight. One car that is stuck without a dancing partner is the 44 of Harold Decker on the inside lane. He is sliding backwards down the back straightaway, which makes the top group of 6 cars 3 two-car tandems. So tandem on the inside continues to be the 18 of Jay Anderson and the 10 car of Craig White, and the tandem on the outside lane is the 4 of Connor Anton with help from Logan Clampett in the 23 truck. And those cars are actually going to get the run this time by the start-finish line. The 4 car of Anton will go to the point. 23 of Clampett in second. They have cleared the inside lane. They're going to slide down in front of Jay Anderson in through turns 1 and 2, and that causes a little bit of a checkup. They were able to make the pass. Again, you're not going to win the race from the outside unless it's going to be a last-second charge, but you can use that outside lane to pass. And now a big checkup down the back straightaway forces a couple of these drivers to go 3 wide as everybody tries to negotiate that out and try to work their way through the corner. As now the 4 of Connor Anton, he is absolutely all up in front by himself. No challengers on the outside quite yet. 42 of George Bark, still the first car working that outside lane. The 73 of Jeremy Crandall is helping him. Those cars making some headway now up on the outside lane. 42 of George Bark's going to get the nose of his Silverado up to position number 4 by the start-finish line. Going to try to continue to make ground, and the reason they are so much faster than those guys on that bottom lane is due to the fact that there's about a car length separating most of these guys on the inside. You see the top 2 on the bottom lane now. Connor Anton, Logan Clampett actually hooked up a little bit. They started pushing in 1 and 2. That is the fastest way around this racetrack, but you can't do that all night long. So I think that 73 of Crandall's going to be getting pretty hot here as he continues to push the 42 of George Bark, as those 2 Bark competition karting machines try to work the outside lane as they come off of quarter number 4 now on lap 6. A little bit of connection problems for the 23 of Logan Clampett. Blinked out a little bit there, and by the stripe now, caution back in the pack. Trouble and a couple cars around down the back straightaway, and it looks like the incident was the 93 Eric Mortley and the 25 car were drafting back in the pack through 1 and 2. That was Danny Rude. And they spun at a corner before. Looks like the 25 just hooked the 93, and they both ended up hard into the outside wall out of corner number 2. And then the 93 trying to correct it back hard into the inside wall. So those 2 cars going to hit pit road for damage repairs. And again, that brings out our first caution of the evening here. The 28 car riding around the blue machine has been removed from the server. Michael Whitlock is no longer in the race. He was running back around that tail end of that lead pack where that incident actually occurred. Now as the pace car has caught up to our race leader, Connor Anton has now gone to the number 1 position. He had a strong charge with Logan Clampett, his drafting partner so far in tonight's affair, and he runs in first, and this actually may set up well for him on an X3 start, assuming as nobody comes down pit road, and currently lap 7, pit road open for the lead lap drivers and not going to take it the first time by. So Logan Clampett in the number 23 machine. The drafting partner of race leader is actually in third because George Bark got the 42 machine, his nose into that mix there before the caution flew. So that's going to be beneficial to both these guys. The 4 of Anton, he's going to have his drafting partner Logan Clampett right behind him. And George Bark starting in second on the outside of the number 1 row will have his drafting partner behind him as well. That is Jeremy Crandall in the number 73 car. So that's going to work out well for these guys up front. You got to think Connor Anton and Logan Clampett are going to be working to negotiate when they're going to go back to the green flag here in unison. You got to get hooked up as quickly as possible. But we saw that the 42 and the 73, quite possibly the most dominant 2-car tandem so far in tonight's race, were able to push and push for quite a while there on the outside lane, and eventually, once they got tight and side by side with our race leaders, the caution flag did end up flying here, which puts us under our first caution of tonight's race. 26 cars remain on the lead lap. A couple cars in for some service. Ralph Shipman down there on pit road. The 93 of Eric Wortley was just down there. He's trying to get some damage repair, but at the same time trying to hang on to his lead lap, as tonight's race still a long way from over. 160 laps again, the scheduled distance. 10 more laps added in the sim in the event of a green-white checker situation, getting up to 3 shots at that. Of course, for some reason, iRacing still has not added that feature after 5 some odd years, so manually going to be able to do that if that situation arises later on in tonight's race. But again, lap 160 will be the white flag lap, and if we hit 160 under green flag conditions, it will end after that lap. But if there is a caution late in the race, we will keep you up to date on when and how that will be negotiated. Again, you are watching the Bones Racing Firecracker 400 live on the Pros Racing Network, broadcasting from the Daytona International Speedway. The Mrs. Dockside Super Truck Pro Series back at action tonight for the first race of Season 2. Season 1 points championship winner George Bark in the field, sitting second place, and the heat race that set the grid and set the qualifiers for tonight's race. Again, the first 13 drivers to start on the grid were allowed to actually put down a qualifying time. Those are the drivers that participated in that heat race Thursday night. Daniel Miller went to victory lane in the 09 machine. Miller currently sits in position number 6, making some good headway after starting back in position number 12, and we didn't necessarily get a chance to go through the entire field on that grid, so we'll let you know where everybody sits currently under this first caution flag. Again, Connor Anton sits in the number 1 spot, George Bark in second, Logan Clampett sitting in third, Jeremy Crandall in 4th, Jay Anderson in the number 5 spot, Daniel Miller in 6th, James Hickson in the number 7 position, Cecil Renia in the number 8 spot, Travis Brown sits in 9th position, the 10 of Craig White sits in 10th, Harold Decker in the 44 car sits in 11th, Brent Lay in the 12th spot, Don Stevenson in the number 13 position, Gary Power sits 14th, Danny Rude in position number 15, Andrew Heigl in 16th spot, 17th belongs to none other than the 69 of Dale Smalley, Brad Blitch in the number 18, or rather in 18th, in his number 3 truck, David Adamson sits 19th, Rodney Smith 20th. Also have Michael Johnson in the 004 car in 21st, Robert O'Neill 22nd, Mike Costa 23rd, Ralph Shipman 24th, Kerry Cleaver 25th, Eric Wortley 26th. All cars that are on track are on the lead lap. One car no longer in this race is the 28 of Michael Whitlock, has been disqualified from the race. He will finish in position number 27. Lights remain on top of the iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car as we come through the trial hole to complete lap number 9, and we anticipate these lights to go off rather soon, and they do go off, so that'll set us up for a lap 11 restart. So that will be 150 laps remaining in tonight's affair. Once we do go back green flag racing after our first caution of the night, saw a couple of cars tangle out of corner number 2, a couple cars down pit road to top off at this most recent caution flag here. Michael Johnson on the pit lane, and he will be the only car to come down, so he'll assume his position at the tail end of all of these lead lap cars, 26 of them, all the cars still on the lead lap. But if you want to talk a little bit of fuel strategy, you're not going to get much further than 40 laps in these Silverados. So Michael Johnson coming down to take some fuel and 4 fresh tires under this caution flag. He started this race in 23rd, so nothing to lose by coming down and topping off on that, so he does so under the yellow flag. Connor Anton again will be the control car on this restart, and per pros rules, unlike some tracks, and you don't really want to do it here at a super speedway, but say you go to like a 1.5 mile track, and from when the pace car hits the pit road till when the sim actually throws the green flag, the control car, the leader, can go anywhere in between that, and in some cases that gives him nearly 5 seconds of opportunity to pick and choose when he wants to go, try to play a little bit of strategy. Not much beneficiary from this, especially at a super speedway race. Not really going to get much, because what's going to happen is that field is just going to catch up to you and blow by you down that back straight, but he must wait for the green flag before he gets back under action. So we have 2 of the dominant drafts so far sitting in the top 4. Both of them going to be nose to tail, Anton and Clampett, and then Bark and Crandall. And going to see how these guys work it out. We are out of corner number 4, getting set for our second restart of the race. Connor Anton, the control car, is the iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car dive down to the safety of pit road, and green flag flies. We're racing once again. The 4 car not on the gas at all. Trouble for our race leader. The 42 of George Bark is actually going to beat him to the start-finish line. Now the 23 and the 4 get hooked up on the inside lane and sail it off down into corners number 1 and 2. The 42 of George Bark slides back to his drafting partner, the 73 of Jeremy Crandall, as everybody tries to get negotiated following this most recent restart. And the bottom lane defenses so far, but the 42 and the 73 have hooked up on the outside lane. They're starting to make a little bit of headway down the back straightaway. They have moved up to position number 3. Third car on the inside line is the 18 of Jay Anderson, the only car in the top 5 without a dancing partner right now, as both of those 2 tandems that we talked so much about under the caution flag continue to push each other down the front straightaway. This time by the stripe, Logan Clampett will be the number 1 spot. His drafting partner, the 23, Logan Clampett, rather, second, pushing Connor Anton to lead that lap. Once again, George Bark not too far behind, and with help from the 73 of Jeremy Crandall, again, those Bark competition karting Chevys out there on the outside lane trying to make up some headway. They really stall it out on corner entrance because they're almost going up a hill. You're losing that momentum as opposed to being on the inside and diving it down into the corner. The advantage is the run off the corner. That's where you see them make up all this ground, but right here they get nose to nose for the number 1 spot. You go up the hill in the corner and you see that inside lane, the 4 of Connor Anton is able to pull just a little bit of room there on that inside line and make it a race. But this is going to be a drag race to the start-finish line. The 23 of Clampett has not gotten anywhere near off the back bumper of Connor Anton's machine. They will continue to lead this lap. George Bark in a 42 was able to get up to position number 2 on the outside lane as they continue to battle. Those cars looking pretty determined to fight it out on the outside, and now that they have lost their draft and they have separated, they will be content to hold down the line and ride just for a moment down the back straightaway, as 3 wide back in the pack around position number 25. We have a handful of cars that have lost this lead draft. Positions 20th through 26 have actually dropped back, and they are well behind us, nearly 4 or 5 seconds when scoring will cycle through between them and this big lead lap cars, this big draft that consists of somewhere in the range, I want to say 15 or 16 cars, that primary draft. And now you see these single file lanes start to form on the bottom, and again, it's not like you can't pass. If you're going to pass, you're going to have to do it on the outside. The inside is the safe place to be. If you want to make a pass, you can do it on the outside lane. The only difference is you're going to have to be pushing, and you cannot push the entire time depending on what kind of tape setup you're running on the front of your machine. So that can all vary depending on what kind of tape you're running, what kind of strategy you have on your specific race truck. But in the end of the day, you're not going to be able to run up there and push that whole way around. That's why you see the 33 of Travis Brown turn over to the 09 of Daniel Miller. They've created an outside lane. It looks like the 27 of Gary Bauer pulls up there with them as well, along with the 69 of Dale Smalley down in through 1 and 2 up on the high side. The lead car in that outside draft is the 33 of Travis Brown. He's nose to nose for position number 5 with the 18 of Jay Anderson. Jay Anderson is really feeling lucky that he qualified up in the number 1 spot, because he has not really had anybody draft with him all night long. He's just been trailing those top 2 tandems in the racetrack, and he's able to be sitting in somewhat of a comfortable position number 5. over that 4-car outside lane led by the 33 machine. Continues to try to make up ground out of quarter number 4 and coming to the start-finish line. Travis Brown is going to be able to sneak up to what appears to be position number 4. Looks like the 73 of Jeremy Crandall has lost a bit of car length to the 42 of George Park. Will anybody try to slide down in line and try to get in between the two of them? Looks like the 33 was thinking about it, but I know that he's going to want to stay out there with the 09 of Daniel Miller. Miller pushing the 33 of Travis Brown is the heat race winner from Thursday night, currently working lap number 16 under green flag conditions, and there you see the 09 is going to dive down in line, and that actually separates the dominant duo of the race as Daniel Miller gets down in line, and now he's going to pull back up, and a little bit of a different kind of switch that he might anticipate. Goes down in line and is able to hop on that bottom line freight train, jumps right back up in front of his drafting partner, the 33 machine of Travis Brown. The 21 has given up on the outside lane. He's going to try to run the 27 of Gary Bauer has dived back to the inside along with the 69 of Dale Smalley. So only 2 cars remain, or 2 trucks for that matter, on the outside lane, led by now the 09 of Daniel Miller. Up front, no changes, because if you're on that bottom lane, you're pretty much just riding around in line and buying some time. Connor Anton, the lead car, and the lead car on that inside line, continuing to have help from his fast lane teammate there of Logan Clampett. The fast lane machine 23 has been essentially teammates with the 4 of Connor Anton. They've been working pretty good up at the front of this pack as the 09 to 33 continue to try to make up some headway on the outside lane. Their trucks not necessarily hooked up all the way around this joint. You can't, or that engine's not going to last too long. You get a long race to worry about. It just appears that those 2 trucks can't stay hooked up long enough to make up all of that ground that they need to do. And now we have a challenge for the lead. That second tandem, the 42 of George Park, is going to step out of line, and the 73 of Jerry Crandall will go with him. No, they're going to now pull back down in line. They're thinking about it, ready to go half a lane up, trying to get that side draft off of the right rear of the 23 of Logan Clampett, and they will do so down the front straightaway into the trial with the 42 for the 73. George Park's going to get up to the number 2 spot, not quite door to door with race leader the 4 of Connor Anton, but again, those 2 dominant tandems are starting to try to break away in this pack, and that's going to help some of those guys behind him. The 18 machine of Jay Anderson finally has a dancing partner. It is the 27 of Gary Bauer. Those cars get a push up to the back bumper of the 23 of Logan Clampett, and that other 2-car tandem that was having a little bit of trouble on the outside lane, the 09 of Daniel Miller and the 33 of Travis Brown, have caught up. So 4 sets of 2 truck tandems up here now at the front of this field as they try to pull a little bit on the rest of the pack, as everybody else is still kind of riding in line. No real designated drafting partners quite yet back in the pack. Over up front, it has been a tale of 2 sets of tandems, and the 42 of George Park is going to lead lap number 19 as lap 20 just now in the works. George Park again started in 6th position. His drafting partner, the 73 of Jeremy Crandall, started in the number 9 spot. Now again, the 4 of Anton, and it's going to be very consistent. And you take a look at the stats at the end of the race, they tell you how many changes for the lead there were. That's going to be at the start-finish line. These guys, if they continue to run side by side, they're going to continue to swap lead positions about 3-4 times a lap. You see the 4 of Anton always on corner entry. He will steal that lead back, but it seems like the guys on the outside, the 42 leading that charge, will steal it back rather on corner exit. The 73 was not quite tucked up on the back bumper of George's Bart Chevrolet Silverado that last time by at a 4. So Anton and Clampett are able to go back to the number 1 and number 2 positions. Now it's the 18 of Jay Anderson, 3rd car in line on the inside, has passed the 42 of George Bart, who leads the outside charge, but not drafting in line. You're going to be looking out that right side of your race car, constantly seeing guys try to pass you. On the inside, you're not going to get anywhere. If you're content to ride on the inside line, if you're a guy like DP to Jay Anderson, who we have seen down there on that inside all night long. He hasn't really made an attempt to charge something on the outside lane. He's content to riding in third. You're not going to make a pass on that inside lane. The cars that are being aggressive and that are trying to make passes are the cars that you see up at the front on the outside, including the 42 and the 73 machine. So those are the guys that want to make passes, the guys that are just kind of riding in line, which now include, guys at the 27, the 69, the 24, are just kind of content to trying to log a couple of laps here. And that move to the outside lane by the 42 of George Bart and the 13 of Jeremy Crandall may not have been the best decision, because they kind of slid back to around position number 4. Now they started making up a little bit of more room here through 1 and 2, and off of that corner down, actually corner number 4, this time by the start-finish line, 73, and looks like they got that thing pretty empty when you go tape-wise, because they have been not necessarily hooked up. They haven't been locked onto each other's bumpers and pushing the whole way around. They have been continuously knocking on each other's bumper, trying to make up that ground on the outside very consistently this whole time. And I guess they are running a little bit of a minimum tape load here to try to ride and be able to push and be aggressive. But again, they're just not making up enough headway. You need to stay hooked up. You see right there, 32 gets separated as the 73 of Jeremy Crandall goes a little bit higher on entry, and then there a big wiggle by the 73 of Jeremy Crandall. He will have to recover, and those guys on that outside lane, they're working a lot harder than an 18 of Jay Anderson or a 27 of Gary Bauer at the moment. The only problem is, again, they are going up against that big one-car line, the freight train, on the bottom of the racetrack. So going to continue to monitor that situation as the 42 and the 73 now what appear to be some of the only cars left on the outside lane. The 09 of Daniel Miller and the 33 of Travis Brown were the other two truck tandem up there when the top portion of this field started to break away. They have since slipped back, and looks like they got a switch now. So the 42 of George Bart yields high in corner number 3. The 42 is going to slide down now, and Jeremy Crandall is going to be the lead car now, and stepping out of line is the 18 of Jay Anderson up front. He is done. He is no longer content with riding in line like we've documented to this point. He wants to get something going. Can't quite get hooked up yet. The 27 of Gary Bauer on his back bumper. There they go. But just as they see that, the 4 and the 23 of Anthony Clampett, who have not been pushing these last few laps, realize that there's going to be a little bit of a charge coming here on the outside lane. They're now pushing on the inside. But a huge run by Jay Anderson down the back straightaway now, going into corner number 3. They get nose-to-nose for the number 1 spot. It's going to be corner 3 right there. We see the inside lane prevail on entry. If the 18 and the 27 can stay hooked up, they're going to give them a run for their money at the stripe. It is going to be door-to-door. I think Jay Anderson on the outside lane with help from the 27 of Gary Bauer. And Anderson will lead that lap by 5 1/1000ths of a second. Let's make it a 3-car tango, because Dale Smalley in the 69 machine, he's trying to stay up on the back bumper of the 27 car of Gary Bauer, making that 3 cars on the outside lane. But here's where you find that problem. We saw guys on the outside lane, the 4 and the 23. They did it earlier in the race, and now it looks like Jay Anderson, he's going to leave his partner. I was going to say the problem is they can't clear those guys on the inside lane. Now Anderson figures he doesn't need the 27 right now, so he's going to leave Gary Bauer out to dry. That makes Jay Anderson the lead car on the bottom lane at a corner number 4, lap 26 in the works. Copenhagen, lap number 27, this time by the stripe. Anderson will lead it that time by, but Gary Bauer now got left out on the high side. That was a 3-car tango, so down to a 2-car tandem with 69 of Dale Smalley pushing the 27 of Gary Bauer on the outside lane. An update on that secondary, or one of our primary rather, 2-car tandems. The 73 of Jeremy Crandall, the 42 of George Bart have settled back in line. They were scored 6th and 7th that last time by. They ride in line behind the 23 of Logan Clampett. Clampett has been working with the 4 of Connor Anton all night, while Connor Anton's now working with the 18 of Jay Anderson after Anderson again ducked down to that inside lane in front of him. And they're pushing because Gary Bauer and Dale Smalley on the outside lane are trying to come hard this time by the stripe. Anderson will once again lead it that time by. You see the 27 of Bauer. He's able to pull a nose on him down into corner numbers 1 and 2. But there the inside lane will prevail, and we hear that these guys are coming up on a little bit of lap traffic. That could get a little bit close to lap machine of David Adamson, who's actually going to be losing his lap. He's the last car on the lead lap right now in 25th, and they're looking to blow the doors off of his machine. And can they single file it out? They do very sloppily in 3 and 4, and it looks like Dale Smalley in the 27 to Gary Bauer cleared that inside lane, but in order to try to avoid that lap traffic, the 27 of Bauer stayed high, 69 of Smalley went low, and now 3 wide through the middle, the 73 of Jeremy Crandall through the middle. The 27 of Gary Bauer is going to drop back 4, 5, 6 spots on the outside lane just like that, and now Dale Smalley has gone to the point. George Bark and Jimmy Crandall trying to work the outside lane once again after they rode in line for a handful of laps to try to cool down their machines. And look at that run on the outside, so strong down the back straightaway with ease. Are going to clear those guys on the inside lane, and Jeremy Crandall to the point as George Bark will move up in position number 2, and Dale Smalley, who was leading that inside charge, gets blown out of the water. Now he's going to go high. He opens up that inside because Smalley, after ditching his drafting partner, the 27 of Gary Bauer, jumps back out to help him. He's going to get past now, but the 18, the 4, the 23, all going to go by Dale Smalley on the bottom as Smalley drops back on the outside lane to try to catch up to Gary Bauer. And now the 4 of Connor Anton. Again, we said that he was pushing with the 18 of Jay Anderson, which left his partner, the 23 of Logan Clampett, out with nobody to help him. Now they have gone around the 18 of Jay Anderson. Jay Anderson, again, has been left out to dry on the inside lane as Jeremy Crandall and George Bart try to set sail up at the front of this field. And they are trying to check out in through 3 and 4. The battle is side by side for position number 3. Connor Anton in the 23 of Logan Clampett. Now single file back out there. Those two drafting positions, 3rd and 4th, and then 5th on back is going to be where you see the likes of Dale Smalley with help from Gary Bauer trying to make it over that inside lane. The 18 of Jay Anderson still on the inside, and those cars will clear them. So Smalley picks up 5th. Anderson will drop back to 7th as Gary Bauer steals 6th as that 2-car tandem sets sail. So the top 3 right now, or top 3 tandems rather, top 6 cars on the racetrack are tandem. The groups have been Crandall and Bark, Anton and Clampett, and Smalley and Bauer. Jay Anderson, again, still really doesn't have any help. He runs right now in position number 7, and it's a 2-truck tandem behind him, and it looks like they're going to go and leave him out to dry. Also, the 09 of Daniel Miller and the 33 of Travis Brown trying to make it work on the outside lane. Both those cars going to leave Jay Anderson out to dry on the inside lane. So Jay Anderson, again, started on pole position, but the way that it all lined up, he has not really had a secured drafting partner all night long. 2 more cars coming up to him, 2 more trucks, the 24 car and the 64 of James Hickson. Not really pushing, so the 18 may find some help here. Looks like the 24 of James Hickson is going to pull up on the back bumper of the 18 car. So Jay Anderson may finally have a little bit of assistance in tonight's race as the lead draft of cars has kind of been separated now because the tandems have taken over. The tandems are still very prominent on the iRacing service with these trucks, the Chevrolet Silverados for that matter, as opposed to maybe a Gen 6 car where it's a little bit harder to pull away with 2 cars, but still very possible. The 2-car tandem by far the fastest way around this joint with these trucks as Crandall and Bark have opened up what is a 1-second lead between them two, running 1st and 2nd, and then 3rd on back. Positions 3rd and 4th is a tandem. That's Clampett and Anton. They're working around some lap traffic on the high side of the racetrack. That lap car going to go on by. That is Andrew Heigl, who is the last car, or was the last car on the lead lap in position number 24. He'll drop 1 lap down, so 23 cars remain on the lead lap, and no distance gained, no distance lost between that top draft and that secondary draft. Clampett and Anton continuing to try to hold off the charging 69 of Dale Smalley and the 27 of Gary Bauer. And this field is really spread out, and some cars headed down the pit lane. Kerry Cleaver is in along with the 19 of Robert O'Neill. The start of green flag pit stops for those cars who come in towards the tail end. And actually were the final 2 cars on the lead lap. They have elected to come down pit road. Now the question will be, when do our leaders? I said they're not going to make it much further than 40 laps on the tank here. We saw a couple guys top off towards the tail end. We saw Michael Johnson in the 004 car who runs 21st. He topped off right at 1 to go before that restart. So he may be able to go about 10 more laps further than our leaders, but it's time to ride. These guys just buying some time. We're side by side for position number 3. The 69 of Dale Smalley, the 27 of Gary Bauer to the inside of Connor Anton and his drafting partner Logan Clampett. That going through corners 3 and 4, and with ease Dale Smalley going to move up the 3rd. Bauer's going to take the 4th as the 4 and 23 will drop back. So all eyes on when do our leaders decide to hit the pit road. A little bit of side-by-side around position number 10 as those cars that have dropped nearly 5 seconds off of the lead draft are trying to figure themselves out as they run right now on the racetrack. But when will the 73 and the 42 of Randall and Bart respectively decide to come down pit road? And execution of that, slowing these trucks down from somewhere with a range of 180 miles an hour coming out of 4 to get down to that pit road speeding limit and do it with other cars. You're not going down there by yourself, get back out on the racetrack, surprise as a pack, you get in line. Because I mean, you can do that if you're running around position number 10. You got a couple of cars, but for the most part, everybody here is separated into 2-car tandems, 2-truck tandems. So you're going to have to discuss with your partner. You're going to have to enter pit road in nearly identical intervals. Know what you're doing on pit road as far as if you're going to take any tires and leave. Do it all together. So once you guys get up to speed at a corner number 2 and down that backstretch to blend back in with traffic, the guy in front is not going to have to be dragging his brakes and holding up for that guy that is leading that charge, because that's only going to kill their time. And again, if this race continues to have a green flag look to it, then that will be very important in that regards moving forward, is the execution of these green flag pit stops. In a game of tenths, be very important. Speaking of tenths, 0.8 of a second is the gap that separates the top 2 drafts right now on the racetrack. The top 2 tandems. That secondary tandem led by Smalley and pushed by Gary Bauer have closed in another 10th. So from a second not too long ago to 0.6 of a second is that gap between those top 2 on the racetrack and 3rd and 4th. We got a couple of cars talking that they need to come down pit road. Travis Brown and Jay Anderson, who run 7th and 8th. Those 2 cars have been talking with each other, and in those cars you can anticipate them to come down to the pit road very soon, and they will be discussed. It's going to be no tires for them. You may see a couple guys decide to throw 2 of them on under the yellow, under the green flag pit stops rather, but we're hearing that Anderson and Brown in 8th and 7th are going to be coming down next time by. They plan on taking a full fuel load. Meanwhile, the top 6 have really started to group back up as the 42 of George Bart pushing the 7-3 of Jeremy Crandall have lost their momentum per se, and Dale Smalley, who was at one time, again, maybe 5 laps ago, was over a second behind, now finds himself on the back bumper, but I think they're going to be coming in a bit here soon because they had a big run and could have easily taken a look to the outside, but they checked up to be able to be on that inside lane. So if they elect to come down pit road this time by, then they can easily do so. It's not going to go this time by. They're in a lead draft, so they can hang on. But here goes the 33 of Travis Brown. He's coming down to the pit lane. Jay Anderson, his drafting partner, going to bring it down as well. And looks like Travis Brown a lot more aggressive on entry to pit road. He opened up a little bit of a gap on his partner, Jay Anderson. So those two cars pitting from 7th and 8th position. And they are planning on no tires and full fuel load on their machine. As we run right now, 20 trucks running on the lead lap for the moment. As it is still Jeremy Crandall in the #1 position. You see a bunch of trucks that have just been shuffled out of order, have no drafting partner, and that's how quickly you can lose your lap no matter how long this 2.50-mile speedway is. If you don't have somebody helping you out, you're going to be short somewhere in the range of 5 to 10 miles an hour compared to somebody hooked up on your back bumper. And actually, as we pass the 1/4 distance in this race, lap 41 currently in the works by our race leader out of 160. 1/4 of this race has been completed. Running down through the top 10 right now, Jeremy Crandall, George Park, Dale Smalley, Gary Bauer, Connor Anton, Logan Clampett, James Hickson, Cecil Arena, Brent Blay, and Rodney Smith are the top 10 as they run, and we'll hold off on a full field rundown because again a lot of positions still shuffling here as this race continues to work itself through. You got to think that the guys that pitted before and have already completed the green flag pit stops without any cautions are going to need at least 4 more trips down to the pit lane. You got to think for the guys that are still out on the racetrack, Jeremy Crandall and George Bard, you're past the quarter distance in this race without making a stop yet. So if you continue to get this fuel mileage, you'll pit after halfway, you'll pit after the 3/4 mark, which means you still have 3 more stops to go, as opposed to some of these other guys who have already pitted and you still need 3 more stops until they can complete that. The 69 of Dale Smalley to the outside, and he pulls back in like the 3rd, and now the leader is going to come down. 73 of Jeremy Crandall comes down. The 42 of George Park comes down as well. They have company behind them. The 4 of Connor Anton comes flying in also with his drafting partner. Logan Clampett is in, James Hickson is in, Cecil Reen is in as well. So about 6 cars from the top 10 going to hit pit road at once. And again, expect some unison here. The 42 of George Park overshoots his pit stall. Looks like him and his drafting partner, Jeremy Crandall, are going for a no-tire strategy. The 4 and the 23 of Anton and his drafting partner, Clampett, went for a 2-tire call. And that second draft that entered, Clampett and Anton are going to beat George Park and Jeremy Crandall out of the pits, and they took 2 tires. So a very solid job for the 4 and the 23 to be able to lead in that position. Dale Smalley continues to lead in the #1 spot. He has yet to pit, along with his drafting partner, the 27 of Gary Bauer. A couple of the cars bodied in line. 3rd place currently belongs to the 31 of Brent Lay. You got Rodney Smith, Don Stevenson in that mix as well. Also the 46 car is seen there also. However, that machine is a lap car, and that is Andrew Heigl 1 lap down, working with a lead lap car, the 47 of Don Stevenson. You gotta think, how much further can Smalley and Bauer stretch this field? They're obviously trying to make it as far as they can, trying to make this a 3-stop race. After each quarter mark, again, past lap 40, pit there, pit after halfway, pit after the 3/4 mark. But you also gotta keep in mind the possibility of the green-white checker, which is a manually controlled thing. Here we have an extra 10 laps than what the race distance is in the sim. So again, with iRacing not having a green-white checker option, they do have the ability to run over the 160 mark to get up to 3 shots at a green-white checker. Gary Bauer and Dale Smalley currently switching in the corner. Again, the last time that Gary Bauer was down pit road, taking a look back to the replay I am here, last time Gary Bauer was on pit road was lap 8. So he pitted on lap 8 as opposed to the tandem of Crandall and Bark, who did not. So you figure they can go 8 more laps, and then that could be a race-winning decision, depending on if this thing continues to go green flag racing as we do right now, we are approaching the lap number 50 mark. And our leaders are down the backstretch yet to pit. We have 3 cars running 8 seconds behind them. That's Stevenson, Lay, and Smith. They also have the 46 there in tow, Andrew Heigl. However, he is a lap machine. And then everybody else on the lead lap position, 6th on back, at least 25 or more seconds back from our race leaders. Gary Bauer and Dale Smalley, you gotta think, may have a handful of more laps before they're forced to come down pit road. After Bauer, who leads this race right now, started way back in 20th position. Dale Smalley, who also started relatively deep in tonight's field, in position number 17, currently runs his number 69 machine in second. Those two have cycled through to the main draft. So take a look at some of these guys that have completed their pit stops and side-by-side battle, actually going for position number 13. Those are 2 tandems that have pitted, Connor Anton and Logan Clampett, who pitted behind Bark, and his drafting partner Crandall actually beat him out of pit road. Those guys continue to battle. They're in the range of 40 seconds back. So if you're Gary Bauer or Dale Smalley, you got to be liking the fact that those guys are battling. They're not going to be running at solid lap times as you are. Gary Bauer, race leader last time, ran a 48.1. Those guys that were battling back there running a 48.4. So Bauer and Smalley know that that 40-second gap is the distance, which means that they're going to have 40 seconds to come down at pit road. And now the 25 of Denny Ryu is going to come down from 6th along with Mike Costa. So the 6th and 7th place machine trucks have hit pit road. The 3 of Brad Blitch is coming down pit road as well. So a handful of more lead draft cars have hit pit road to make their service. But again, all eyes continue to be on Gary Bauer and Dale Smalley. Dale Smalley has actually gone to the point. We hear that the 44 of Harold Decker, who runs in position number 7, plans on pitting this time by. They currently run, again, positions 7th and 8th, him and his partner, and they do come down pit road, Harold Decker and Craig White coming down for service. Eric Wortley also down pit road. Rodney Smith is currently in his stall. Brent Lay is also, and Don Stevenson also in their stop. So that could very well wind up and wrap up these green flag pit stops as positions 3rd through 11th essentially coming down pit road here. And now here comes our leader. So Dale Smalley going to give up that lead position, gets down to the pit road speed limit of 55 miles an hour, and him and Gary Bauer coming in for service, and we're going to see if they're going to take tires, and it looks like it is fuel only for the 27 of Bauer. Dale Smalley is going to put some right side tires on it, and it looks like Gary Bauer did the same. So 4 tires for the 27 of Gary Bauer, and then 4 tires for him and 2 tires for Dale Smalley. However, Gary Bauer, taking 2 less tires, has left pit road significantly behind Smalley. That's not what they want to see. They got at least 6-7 car lengths, truck lengths for that matter, in between them. As now these tandems that have already completed their pit stops, George Clark and Jeremy Crandall, round through the corners on 1 and 2. You see there goes Gary Bauer, there goes the 69 of Dale Smalley. And even though they stayed out and stretched that fuel load on lap number 50 down the back straightaway, they will lose that number 1 position. So it is going to be the 42 of George Clark back to the point, with help from the 73 of Jeremy Crandall. Connor Anton runs 3rd with Logan Clampett in line behind him. Those 2 cars are currently bumper to bumper, and those 2 tandems run through 4th position on the racetrack are up at the front of this field. Right now, as we run unofficially, 21 cars on the lead lap. Cars that are down a lap include Robert O'Neill, Kerry Cleaver, Andrew Heigl, David Adamson sits 2 laps down, and then Ralph Shipman and Michael Whitlock, positions 26th and 27. are so far our only retirees from the race. Ralph Shipman retired his machine on lap number 14, came down pit road, stopped, and retired from this evening's race. He is no longer on racetrack, so 25 cars still in it, and 21 of them remain on the lead lap. 3 of them are down, 1 car 2 laps down, and the back 2 are off. George Bart continuing to lead the 73 of Jeremy Crandall rides in second. The secondary tandem of the 4 of Connor Anton and 23 of Logan Clampett trying to get something done. They thought about the high side that last time high, and now down to back straightaway. Going to pull back down in line as they go down that back straightaway. They have what is going to balance out to be a 3.3 second lead over Dale Smalley and Gary Bowers. Smalley and Bowers stayed out about 10 more laps than those other 2 tandems up at the front of the field. And a little bit of a fuel play after they pitted on the opening caution, the only caution so far that came early in this evening's race. Those guys pitted on lap 8, so they were able to go a little bit further, but didn't quite hit their marks as far as execution on exit of pit road together. They had to have the 69 of Dale Smalley drag the brakes a little bit to catch that 27 machine. So before they could hook back up, obviously Crandall and George Bark were able to set sail on that inside lane. They are currently the leaders here down the back straightaway.
Can we switch? I don't like this guy.
The 4 car of Anton has been separated from his partner. Logan Clampett rides around in position number 4. You can call it a 4-truck race. If generous, we'll call it a 6-truck race with those 3 sets of 2-car tandems. Up at the front of this field, again, Bart, Crandall, Anton, Clampett, and then Smalley and Bauer. Those 2 cars, or those 3 sets of 2 cars, are in control of this field. If you want to see 7th on back, you're looking in the 15-second plus range. The first cars that will lose their lap if they don't pick up their pace a little bit still have a little bit of a comfortable lead, but Michael Johnson is the last car on the lead lap, and he has actually lost a draft, so he will most likely lose his lap not too long in the 004 truck, who rides around in position at number 21. George Bark and the rest of these leaders can see those guys that make up the tail end of the lead lap as they work through corners number 1 and 2.
Why don't you guys get on a wire?
As the next point in this race to note would be crossing the halfway point in about 25 more laps of competition. The Bart competition machine, speaker which are continuing to dominate in this race. And this field really spread out now here under what is approaching to be, and I guess what has been 44 laps plus of green flag racing. Again, we went back green on lap 11, which was 150 laps to go in the race. And since then, green and clean all the way around. Now our race leaders have caught up. Michael Johnson yields to the high side as his truck, again running nearly 10 miles an hour off pace without any drafting help. He will get put he will be put his first lap down, so that means 20 trucks who remain on the lead lap. The 4 of Anton and the 23 of Clampett, who are running 3rd and 4th, continue to ride in line and were able to clear that lap machine without any incident. Again, these top guys continuing to pull away. I thought that Gary Bauer and Dale Smalley, 5th and 6th, may be able to try to capitalize if those top 2 sets of tandems maybe double up a little bit, race it out. However, they have not done so. So combined with the pushing and the fact that they are kind of minding their own business for the most part, through corners of number 3 and 4, actually corners number 1 and 2, as they work down the backstretch on our leaders. They're continuing to put on some time on Smalley and Bauer. And it went from 4 seconds up to 6. That last time high, it actually got closed back in to 5 seconds. Dale Smalley and Gary Bauer trying to make up some ground on that lead lap. We have one truck that gets turned around, the 18 of Jay Anderson. Gets dumped down the back straightaway. He was drafting with the 47, and actually down the front straightaway, my apologies, lap 56, come to 57. Just to note on that, 47 went to the bottom and actually hooked his own drafting partner, the 18 of Jay Anderson, around. Jay Anderson has got back rolling, but will lose the draft, and evidently will make him lose his lap. Now it's more lap traffic going on. David Adamson going to lose lap number 3 in turns 3 and 4 as our leaders go back around him. And again, once we approach again, the next significant marker in this race will be the halfway point at lap number 80. Once we hit, so you got to figure if these guys can make it to lap 80, they're definitely going to be trying to push that to a one more stop strategy after that point. Again, everybody has spread out on this field. We will give you a full field rundown at the halfway point, but 19 cars remain on the lead lap. The back 4 on the lead lap, so position 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th position are all 43 seconds back or 5 seconds ahead of our race leaders on the racetrack. If they get past, they will lose their lap. So those 4 cars trying to get along and ride in a single file draft. That includes Brad Blitch into number 3, Daniel Miller in the 09, the 33 of Travis Brown and the 93 of Eric Wortley. Those guys are trying to negotiate a little bit of a group swap, trying to mix things up there, try to get some air to some of the guys that have been doing some of the pushing here. The only issue is, again, they only have 5 seconds over our lead lappers. There's Don Stevenson. You see they're working around him now. Don Stevenson, again, after accidentally turning his drafting partner, Don Stevenson is getting passed by those cars. So the 47 is now the last truck on the lead lap, and not too long until he will lose his lap. So tough break for not only Jay Anderson, but also the 47 Don Stevenson. Those guys just trying to negotiate a little bit of a swap, or maybe just trying to stick their nose out for some clean air, try to cool down the engine a little bit, end up collecting each other there down the front straightaway, and may actually lose their laps over. It looks like the 47 Stevenson has actually kind of tagged onto the back of this. Eric Wortley was the lead car in that 4-car pack. He goes to the high side and drops to the back, so a little bit of a group swap going on. I feel like the 93 may lose a little bit too much time and may actually lose that draft entirely. So the 93 of Eric Wortley's got to get on the gas. The 46 car is being put another lap down. That's Andrew Heigl. If he is to be lapped the next time by our leaders, he will go 2 laps down, as our leader George Bark is riding not too far, maybe 4 or 5 seconds behind all that switching and swapping that is going on for the tail end of the lead lap. Eric Wortley, who was at the front of it, and they tried to negotiate a group swap. He dropped back. He's evidently dropped back. He's lost touch with those guys that he was just with. He's going to have to count on the 46 of Andrew Heigl to get up to him to try to push it back up there. So if he cannot do so, then it's going to be a tough break for Wortley, who was in the most comfortable spot and opted and volunteered to drop to the back to give some of those other guys a little bit of room. And in doing so, he actually loses touch with those guys that they're riding with. So tough break for them. Past the 60 lap mark, race leaders are currently working lap number 63 of 160, so 97 laps do remain the next time by the start-finish line. Trying to find a little bit of action here on the racetrack. A little bit of battle around position number 11. The 44 of Harold Jecker on the inside. 6 is on the outside. That's the 6 of Mike Costa. The 25 of Danny Riud on the top. 44 of Decker trying to get a little bit of help from the 10 of Craig White. Not going to do so. So the 6 and the 25 going to pick up 2 positions. Costa to 11th, Ryu to 12th. That drops Decker back to 13th and Craig White back to position number 14. And a lot of these names back here, including the 15th place machine, Daniel Miller, drafting with the 33 machine of Travis Brown, 15th and 16th positions, were not too long ago before that cycle green flag pit stops, up there knocking on the back bumper of some of our race leaders and much in contention for this thing. Now they find themselves hanging on to their lead lap by maybe 5 seconds, and it all comes down to execution of those green flag pit stops. That's what the 25 is letting her know right now, that Danny Ryu's talking with the 6 of Mike Costa. That is, again, the battle that we just touched on for a brief moment, the battle for position number 11. Danny Ryu and Mike Costa to the outside lane. And Ryu is pleading with the 6 of Costa to be pushing him all the way around the racetrack. And the 6 says that he doesn't want to be a little bit reckless, trying to take it easy, but in doing so, they have allowed the 44 of Harold Decker and the 10 of Craig White to once again pass them. A little bit of position swapping going on from there on back. Don Stevenson again got into it with Jay Anderson, his drafting partner. Anderson currently does have help. His help isn't on the lap machine. For the first 2 cars, 1 lap down. Michael Johnson and Jay Anderson working together. Don Stevenson, who was the partner of Anderson there, is not quite lost his draft. He found a little bit of help. He rides in that tail end of the lead lap group. Our leaders trying to scramble right now. George Bark in the 73 of Jeremy Crandall, and along with the 4 of Anton and the 23 of Clampett, are able to get around what was the last car on the lead lap, the 93 of Eric Wortley, who's using some help from the 46 of Heigl. Again, Wortley was about 5 cars to the good there from being in a spot where he would immediately lose his lap, but opted to drop to the back to allow the guys up front to get a little bit more clean air. Ended up dropping off a little bit too much, lost contact, and now finds himself 1 lap in the negative. So 18 cars who remain on the lead lap, and then the back 4 are still 45 seconds off, or 4.5 seconds ahead of our race leader, who continues to be the George Bark, the Bark Competition Karting 42 of George Bark, continues to lead, and haven't really seen a plethora of switching going on between those guys up at the front of the field. I know the 4 of Connor Anton continuing to work with the 23 of Logan Clampett, just trying to stay in touch. That third 2-truck tandem, Gary Bauer and Dale Smalley, were trying to make up some ground again, and just kind of lost touch a little bit with these guys after they didn't quite nail their execution on pit road exit under the green flag conditions. They continue to slide back and lose time. Dale Smalley and Gary Bauer back to positions number 5 and positions number 6 on the racetrack. They continue to ride there, but have dropped now to what is 6.5 seconds back. But running pretty decent lap times, considering 7th on back have gone from 15 seconds behind to 23 seconds behind on the racetrack. So if this thing stays green, the top 6 could very easily lap the entire field. But again, you gotta keep an eye on that fuel strategy. Some of these guys had to come in just shy of the lap 40 mark, and if you can't push 40, split this race up into 4 intervals of 40, you're not going to be able to make it on a 3-stop strategy. We will see as we are approaching that range where we'll once again get to see these guys starting to drive their fuel tanks a little bit empty. So you can expect pit stops to start to come through here relatively soon. Again, a whole bunch of people are on a little bit of different strategies, a little bit of disagreement between the two-back tandems, Daniel Miller, Travis Brown, and then Don Stevenson and Brad Blitch, 44 seconds back, are having a little bit of disagreements, per se, on how they would like to work this and try to stay on the lead lap. Having a little bit of disagreements on what kind of strategy they are attempting to use. Jeremy Crandall to the point after he completes a switch with race leader George Bark. So Crandall is going to go to the point. And that puts the 42 back to the number 2 spot. Connor Anton continues to ride around in third. Hasn't made a swap with his partner Logan Clampett in quite some time. Again, the fuel strategy talk is starting to seep over the radio between these drivers on when they're going to come down to make their second stop, and we are 10 laps shy of the halfway point. So again, these guys are going to try to make this on a 3-stop race. They've already completed 1. They got to make it to lap number 80. They can pit, try to make it 40 more, and that should make it close, but good enough to make it 160 laps. The only thing that this does not account for would be a green-white checker scenario, which is a manual option here with 170 laps actually put up in the sim. 160 is tonight's race distance. So additional 10 laps are there to give these guys the freedom of up to 3 attempts at a green-white checker finish. As again, that's not actually an option yet in the iRacing sim. That's not currently available. So here with the Pros Racing, the Mrs. Dockside Super Truck Pro Series opening up their Season 2 here tonight, and you're watching the Bones Racing Firecracker 400 from Daytona on the Pros Racing Network. These guys trying to get the job done here tonight. George Bark in championship fashion after winning the Season 1 championship, trying to get his Season 2 campaign kicked off. Again, these guys racing every other Sunday night out here at these super speedway racetracks here. Again, the heat race is Thursday nights at away events here on the Pros Racing Network. Crandall is your leader. Again, Anton and Clampett continue not to switch, so you can kind of tell that they're just kind of buying their time. They're hanging out. They're not really forcing that, as opposed to the 42 of George Bart and the 73 of Jeremy Crandall, who have been pushing for a significantly longer amount of time than that second draft. Dale Smalley, Gary Bauer continue to lose ground in 5th and 6th. Again, everybody else continuing to lose time. Those back 4 cars that lead lap we've been kind of keeping tabs on all remain 44 seconds back or 5 seconds ahead. So running solid lap times are Blitz, Stevenson, Brown, and Miller. Those cars sitting rather comfortably right now. Again, this race having a green flag look to it. Looks like this thing can very well go green to the checkers. After we only saw 1 incident, and it was a rather small incident kind of back in the pack, not in the main group. There is no longer a main draft. This field is completely separated into 2-car tandems. We'll let you know who is working with who. Again, Crandall has been working with Bark the entire time. Connor Anson continues to work with Logan Clampett. Dale Smalley continuing to work with Gary Bauer. Rodney Smith and Brent Malia in the number 31 truck is continuing to work together. They're 7th and 8th. Cecil Reen and James Hickson are working together. Craig White and Harold Decker in the draft together. Costa and Reud, Blitch and Stevenson, Brown and Miller. Those are the sets of tandems. We have 18 cars on the lead lap and even around, so nobody currently stuck out to dry. And the cars laps down include Wortley, Anderson, Johnson, Eagle, and on, as It appears that we still have 25 cars in action tonight. 2 retirees. Michael Whitlock was disqualified from the race after that first yellow flag and wasn't directly involved. Race control DQ'd him from the qualifying session. And then Ralph Shipman brought his number 22 truck down the pit road under green flag conditions and pulled it in and decided that his night was going to come to a short ending and sooner than he had anticipated. And green flag pit stops just over the horizon here. We're going to be fastly approaching those now. It's just about 5 laps short we are from the halfway point in tonight's affair. These guys have been racing for just over an hour now and approaching the halfway point. So not only do you gotta, I guess you can put an emphasis on the strategy that you need in this race, considering it is so long. You can nearly call it an endurance race. This race could easily surpass 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours in length. So it looks like that all of our lead draft cars, the lead tandems, will be able to successfully reach this halfway point, which is in just about 3 laps. And tailing onto the tail end of our leaders, 93 of Eric Wardley, trying to get his lap back the old-fashioned way. Is the first car 1 lap down in position number 17. He's caught up to the tail end of those top 2 tandems, 5th car in line, but again 19th, actually 17th rather, on the racetrack as Travis Brown and Daniel Miller going to come down the pit lane, and those 2 cars going to pit. So Brown and Miller down for fuel and out. They have had to come in before the halfway point in tonight's race. So that'll be really pushing it if they try to make this on 1 more stop. Looks like those cars may be forced into a 2-stop strategy, which I mean could work out for them when you consider if this thing goes green, we do have a late caution. However, again, in doing so and having to complete an extra stop would cause them to lose their lap. So it's going to be interesting to see again how everybody can stretch out the field. To give you an idea, those guys entered pit road on lap number 76. The last time that Travis Brown pitted after on his first stop was lap number 39. So from lap 39 to 76, that's only about 37 laps on fuel. No way they're going to make it the distance on 1 more stop. So you got to obviously anticipate that those guys are going to have to come down and make 1 more trip for fuel at least, plus another. Because this race still has a fair distance to go before it is all said and done. But Jeremy Crandall is at the point and coming through turns 1 and 2 in the works. Is lap 80, so this time by the start-finish line, we will be at the halfway point, halfway home, and we will give you a full field rundown to let you know where all your favorite drivers are running right now on the racetrack. And again, green flag pit stops just recently starting as Travis Brown and his partner Daniel Miller were forced to come in a little bit earlier than they expected, and Crandall will lead the halfway point. He takes lap 81, 80 laps to go in tonight's affair. So here is your full field rundown brought to you by Mrs. Dockside. We have Jeremy Crandall in the 73 machine in the number 1 position. Second belongs to the 42 of George Clark. The 4 of Connor Anton runs in 3rd. He has help from the 23 of Logan Clampett, who runs in 4th. 8 seconds back is Gary Power, the 27 machine. who rides in 5th, and the number 69 of Dale Smalley in position number 6. 30 seconds back, you'll find the 7th place machine, 31 of Brent Leah, and Rodney Smith, the 96. Those cars 7th and 8th. 41 seconds back, and 10th on 9th on the racetrack, rather. We have the 6th of Mike Costa. 10th position belongs to 25 of Danny Rieude. Harold Decker runs 11th position in his 44 truck. Craig White at number 10 occupies 12th. Unlucky number 13 spot right now belongs to Cecil Reen, and that's a very active part of the racetrack, as we have a handful of guys nice and close together there. 64 runs in 13th. James Hickson runs 14th. John Stevenson is in position number 15. Brad Glitch, last car on the lead lap, in position number 16, runs in his number 3 truck. Eric Wortley, the first truck, 1 lap down, and his number 93 runs in 17th. 18th belongs to the 004 of Michael Johnson in 18th spot. Daniel Miller and Travis Brown, fresh off of a pit stop, both those trucks 1 lap down. 19th and 20th. Andrew Heigl is 21st. Jay Anderson 22nd. Kerry Cleaver 23rd. Robert O'Neill 24th. David Adamson runs 25th. 26th is Ralph Shipman. He is out of tonight's race along with Mike Whitlock. 27th is also out of this race. 15 cars remain on the lead lap because we saw our race leaders hit the pit lane. Jeremy Crandall down for service along with George Bark, and along with those two, we saw James Hickson come down with his drafting partner also, which is going to cycle the lead out to our top 2, which now Connor Anton and Logan Clampett. Those two are going to come down pit road, this time on lap number 83. And I don't know if these guys are even going to be able to make it on one more stop. Right now, Anton enters pit road on lap number 83. Last time he hit pit road was back on, checking the tape here on my end of things just to double check this. Last time he entered pit road was lap number 42. So that's about pretty good mileage there. Actually, 41 laps or so. And they will leave pit road with about 77 laps to go. So both those top 2 may be ready to rock into a roll. We're going to see how they negotiate now as Anton and Clampett cycle back out onto the racetrack. Where are they in comparison to George Bark and Jeremy Crandall? Again, Crandall and Bark pitted 1 lap before them. So we're going to see how they balance out here in through the corner, and it looks like it's going to be with ease Connor Anton and Logan Clampett to be in the race lead. That was a 2-tire call for Anton and Clampett, and when Bark and Crandall were down on the pit lane, those two electing to take no tires. As they sit right now on the racetrack, Dale Smalley and Gary Power. Again, remember, they were able to wait about 8 more laps. These guys are the ones that are most comfortable when it comes to fuel-wise. Again, some drivers are talking a little bit of fuel strategy here over their radios, but Smalley and Power pitted on lap 8 after our first caution, our first and only caution of the race. So they're able to go about 8 more laps than a leader, so they are going to be very comfortable when it comes to the pit strategy and the fuel strategy in tonight's affair. So they've cycled out the lead. Expect them to come in maybe in about 6 or 7 laps. They will be forced to come down and get their service. As 15 is the lucky number of cars that are on the lead lap. Connor Anton and Logan Clampett, the fastest of our leaders that made their stops, run 5th and 6th. Jeremy Crandall and George Bark currently running positions number 7 and 8. So top 4 have yet to make their service. Gary Bauer, Dale Smalley, Rodney Smith, and Brent Lee in positions 1 through position number 4 have yet to take their service. So they are currently up in front of our leaders. It appears that the 96 of Rodney Smith and Brent Lee, third and fourth, are actually only about 6 seconds ahead of the 23 of Logan Clampett, who runs in fifth, and his partner, the 4 of Connor Anton, who would at this moment cycle through to be our race leaders. Travis Brown and the 09, his partner of Daniel Miller, are trying to get their lap back the old way. They are 1 lap down and past that 23, our fifth place machine of Clampett, who again would, for all intents and purposes, cycle through to be the race leader if this stays green, so that everybody else can cycle through. They had an opportunity to try to get their lap back at that point. They were past the 23 and the 4, down in 1 and 2, were unable to make it stick. They have since back off of that. Now Rodney Smith, Brent Lee can come down. The pit lane cars positions 3rd and 4th are coming down for service. Going to see what their strategy call is going to be. Looks like a clean entry for both of them, a little bit conservative, I might say. Right sides for the 96, left sides for his partner. So Rodney Smith takes right and Brent Lee takes left. 31, a little bit slow off pit lane. He had a very conservative entry. These two going to have to drag the brakes a little bit to hook back up. So now, again, all eyes transfer once again to the Dale Smalley and Gary Bauer machines, who lost some time on that last cycle of green flag pit stops, which put them at about 3 seconds back and only dropped from there. Not at a significant margin like some of the guys back in this pack, but they definitely did drop back to, I want to say, some in the range of 8 seconds back. And now here they come down pit road. Lap number 89 is going to be the number for Dale Smalley, who a beautiful entrance for the 69 truck. 27 of Gary Bauer in as well. We're going to get a look at what their strategy is going to be. Looks like Gary Bauer, right side's up on his machine. 2 tires, at least on the right side. Did they go and make it 4? No, they do not. 2 tires for Gary Bauer. Dale Smalley, he's going to stay in for 4 tires. And maybe a little bit of lack of communication there, because now they are not leaving pit road. Once again, the same situation that we saw last time. They don't leave pit road bumper to bumper. That means that Gary Bauer is forced to drag the brakes a little bit, which means that they are not going to get the maximum amount of speed that they want, and they're going to get passed right now. So race lead will go back to Logan Clampett, but it is lap traffic that is getting in his way. The 73 of Jeremy Crandall, with help from the 42 of George Bart. They're going to go to the point on the outside lane there, as I've been keeping an eye on that battle. As the 09 of Travis Brown, or rather the 09 of Daniel Miller, the 33 of Travis Brown, trying to get their laps back. We're actually up there side by side with our leaders, trying to get their laps back the old way. However, they now find themselves in between the Crandall and Bart tandem and the Anton and Clampett tandem. So they could almost be breaking that up front, and this could give an opportunity for the 73 and the 42 to try to scoot away with this thing. Up at the front of the field, looks like Anton and Clampett not really getting hooked up so smoothly like they would hope. And it looks like now some more lap traffic in the picture here. The 10 of Craig White, along with the 44 of Harold Decker.
I can't when we lag, I'm not ready. Alright, push.
The 4 now trying to make a move to the outside. Those lap cars, again, the 09 and the 33 ride on the bottom in line with our race leaders, and it's going to be Anton and Clampett who try to make the first move back to the outside lane. It looks like Connor Anton will put up a fight at the stripe. Can he get the job done? No, he does not. Jeremy Crandall still with the advantage. As now through 1 and 2, they remain side by side and door to door. The top 4 on the racetrack, 93 laps in and 83 laps in to a green flag marathon here under the lights in the World Center of Racing, the Daytona International Speedway. 83 laps into a green flag run, and the top 4 separated by 7/100ths of a second. Again, you see 6 cars in that mix there, however. That is the 09 of Daniel Miller, the 33 of Travis Brown, are the first cars that are not on the lead lap. And they put up a battle there to try to get in front of those leaders. Well, the leaders battling out, could not do so. It actually separated those leaders for a brief moment. So those guys, the first 2 cars 1 lap down, and they're only a lap down by mere thousandths of a second the way they run right now. But they're not going to find their way through quite yet, I don't imagine. Considering, again, we remain side by side up at the front of the field. A little bit of a blink there for the 7-3 of Jeremy Crandall. And it's a little bit of connection error there just temporarily for a slight moment. As now the 4 of Hanson kind of gets separated from the 23 of Logan Clampett. Those guys gonna drop back on the outside lane. They can't get down in line. The 09 of Daniel Miller is there. Heat race winner from Thursday night. Again, working with his lap down partner, the 33 of Travis Brown. And if you're going to be the 4, the 23, you're going to be frustrated that you can't get down. Now they finally can, as Miller and Brown were not necessarily hooked up all the way. Going down that little short chute there by the front stretch. They're able to get back going on the preferred lane. They have lost about a 1/10 of a second. It's 0.125 seconds that separate second and third. George Marks second in line in that lead draft as he allows his drafting partner Jeremy Crandall to lead a little bit here. Anton is the lead lap car of that second draft, sitting in position number 3. And 2 more cars going to wave on by to our leaders. Looks like the 45 of Kerry Cleaver and his drafting partner, the 19 of Robert O'Neill. Those guys 20th and 21st. With the last 2 cars actually down 1 lap. They will now become the first 2 to be 2 laps down. And again, that little bit of buffer that was created by the 09 of Miller, the 33 of Travis Brown, between those 2 top tandems have now made it about a second gap between Crandall and Bart, Clampett, and Anton, who ever since the drop of the initial green flag in tonight's race pretty much made it quite clear that they were going to be the top 4 cars in tonight's affair. We saw Gary Bauer, Dale Smalley, 2 very strong drivers here at the super speedways, made a threat for that number 1 position for a moment. However, they currently sit 16 seconds down in position, still 5th and 6th on a racetrack, but again, only 8 cars on the lead lap right now. As again, Smalley and Bauer just missing a little bit of consistency. The gap has been closed, so they're going to close it in. They're going to lose it a little bit more. They got it into 6/10 of a second between those top 2. Now it is back to 8/10. they all run. Again, I mentioned only 8 cars left on the lead lap. The fourth and final tandem is going to be Rodney Smith and Brent Lee. After Leia started in position number 11, his partner right now, Rodney Smith, started in 13th. So don't really want to say it's a huge movement, but those two guys have definitely done a strong job from coming in that mid-pack area to be able to hang on after so many green flag laps. Be competitive and still on the lead lap to this extent in the race as they run right now. The next interval that we keep an eye on is going to be the possible final pit stop, which you're going to have to come in, I'd say, at least lap 140, and you should be able to stretch that fuel. That will, however, not account for a possible green-white checker, which Pros has set up these rooms to be able to have as an option, as it does not come standardized over the iRacing sim. So that's why up on the ticker here in the broadcast, you're currently working under the Mrs. Dockside Super Truck Pro Series sign that we're working lap 100, and now by the stripe lap 101 out of 170. Tonight's affair actually a 160 lap affair, so the Bones Racing Firecracker 400, they did not make an error in calculating that. It is 160 laps, so additional 10 laps are added once again to give you the option, and to give these guys an option. So if they do not take lap 160 under the green, which would be the white, if they do not do so, then they have an option to do what would act as green-white checkered attempted finishes, and then they would do a pace for this. And now caution on the racetrack, trouble just as we were approaching that fuel strategy window, and 2 cars gonna wreck it. Daniel Miller, looks like he got into it, and his partner, the 33 of Travis Brown. The incident is gonna happen in lap number 100 through 1 and 2. Looks like the 31 truck of Brent Lay, who just lost his lap, couldn't hold the line and slid up from that double yellow, got into the 09 and the 33, and the 96 with a huge lick. The 09 gets a piece of it as well. Travis Brown with some damage. Looks like the 44 truck is involved as well. A rather large incident in turns number 1 and 2 is going to put us under the yellow flag, and that fuel strategy that has been the topic of discussion not only up here in the broadcast booth but also between drivers is going to come to a close, and it does so with 6 trucks on the lead lap. You can go either way here. If you're some of those guys, if you're Travis Brown, you're going to need a pit here because you're going to come up short on fuel. The question will be, if you're our leader, might as well stay out. You're going to be able to stretch that fuel still. You're not going to gain anything from pitting here, I don't think. You'll only be able to go to about the lap 145 mark, 15 laps short, unless you think you're going to be able to see that many yellows. So anticipate possibly our leaders to stay out, save fuel, which will give them maybe 2-3 laps to the good as far as 160 and beyond when it comes to the green and white checker situation. Taking a look at any takers, Connor Anton, Logan Clampett going to come down from positions 3rd and 4th. Back through the field. They are currently the only trucks down on pit road. Now a couple other guys coming down as well for some damage repair. The 96 of Rodney Smith is in his stall. His car got up into that catch fencing in turns 1 and 2 right before that caution, or rather was the cause of that caution flag, and that incident that puts us under our 2nd caution of the night. And again, you're watching the Pros League, the Bones Racing Firecracker 400 at the World Center of Racing, the Daytona International Speedway. My name is Evan Pasoko. You're watching live on the Pros Racing Network. Mrs. Dockside Super Truck Pro Series back under action. Season 2 opening up tonight. Again, under the lights. And we are currently working our 2nd yellow flag of the race within of 60 laps to go. Jeremy Crandall, George Bark have elected to stay out. Connor Anton Logan Clampett pitting from 3rd and 4th. Gary Bauer, Dale Smalley, 5th and 6th have not come down pit road under this yellow. So again, 6 cars do remain at the moment. The 44 of Harold Decker to be the lucky man who I believe is going to receive that wave around for being the first car 1 lap down. Yes, he is. Again, a lot of these guys trapped 1 lap down would have liked to see all 6 lead lap cars pit, which would have allowed them to stay out, get a wave around at the 1 to go. And if that was the case, you could get anywhere go from 7 cars to 18 on the lead lap if that were to happen. But again, Jeremy Crandall, George Bart, Gary Bauer, Dale Smalley did not elect to come down pit road. Now our lap down cars going to hit the pit lane. Brent Lee, Craig White, Brad Blitch not going to come down. Mike Costa is on pit road. Cecil Reen is on pit road. Danny Riud, Daniel Miller stays out. Michael Johnson is in. Andrew Hegel is in. Right now, positions 8th through to position 18. 11 cars are trapped -1 lap. We have 3 cars 2 laps down. That'll be Michael Johnson, Andrew Hegel, and Rodney Smith. Robert O'Neill, Kerry Cleaver, both 3 laps down. 4 laps down is David Adamson. Jay Anderson has actually pulled it in on lap 92. Again, he got spun accidentally by his drafting partner down the back straightaway. He has actually elected to retire. So 24 cars, 24 trucks for that matter, do remain in action. As again, Anderson, Shipman, and Whitlock are all no longer in tonight's Bones Racing Firecracker 400 here with the Pros Racing Series, brought to you by Bart Competition Karting, Sim Garage, Bones Racing, and of course this is Dockside, title sponsor for tonight's, or title sponsor rather for the series. And this is Dockside Super Truck Pro Series. Again, Bones Racing coming on for the title sponsor of tonight's race, the Bones Racing Firecracker 400. Pros League is always open to new entries. If you're interested in hopping in with them, you can take a look at www.pros-league.com. Hop on in. Again, qualifying races taking place Thursday at what is going to be 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Tonight is the main event. Sundays, every other Sunday, you got the Truck Series out here racing 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Pacific for those on the West Coast. The race control just reiterating that assuming it is green at lap 160, 160 is going to be the white flag lap. And once they take lap 161, assuming it is under green, that that will be the end of tonight's race at its scheduled distance of 400 miles. And now this is going to give, and it has been 2 sets of dominant duos. It's been a tale of 2 stories. The 73 of Jeremy Crandall, the 42 of George Bark, one of them. Second one is the 23 of Logan Clampett and Connor Anton. Also, here's how we set up. The lights are off the race car, and we get set to go at green flag racing. 55 laps to go. Maybe just in the range of under an hour left of racing here to kick off the season. Randall will be on the #1 spot. George Bark to his right-hand side. Gary Bauer, Dale Smalley going to move up from 5th and 6th to 3rd and 4th. They did not elect to come down pit road. And then Logan Clampett, Connor Anton going from 3rd and 4th, swapping spots with the Bauer-Smalley tandem, dropping back to 5th and 6th after electing to come down to top off on fuel. This time, lights off, but a pace car coming at it. Quarter number 4, getting set for our third restart of the race. Jeremy Crandall in control as the pace car hits pit road. Green flag flies. We're racing at a big checkup. The 27 Gary Bauer with a terrible start. He's going to have to merge back up in line. That puts the 23 of Logan Clampett 3 wide as he tries to chase down his partner, the 4 of Connor Anton, into the corner. Does he clear Bauer? Yes, he does. And all that chaos behind them is going to benefit the 42 of Bark and the 73 of Crandall as those two up in the top 2 positions trying to pull away down the back straightaway and off into the corner they go. It's just a not Smalley down the back stretch and is now forced to work with the 4 of Connor Anton. Anton does have his drafting partner with him, Anton having the 23 of Logan Clampett just behind him. But the 27 Gary Bauer, who's been working with Dale Smalley, finds himself now when he's going to be the number 6 car in line on the bottom. The 3 of Brad Blitz to the outside lane with help from the 10 of Craig White. Those 2 cars actually lap machines trying to race their way around the leader. And are going to stall out on that outside.
Actually, slow.
And now everybody kind of grouping back up down the back stretch down into 3. With 42, George Bark continuing to lead, the 73, and Jeremy Crandall in second. Dale Smalley sits third. Connor Anton in the number 4 sits in position number 4. Again, those only 2 trucks on the outside lane are lap machines. And so they try to get it back the old-fashioned way. So right now, Brad Blitch, the first car not on the lead lap, first car 1 lap down, in position number 8. Find themselves on the outside, so you're actually 4th and what appears to be 4th and 5th in line over there on the outside lane. They are lap machines, so if they were able to get in front of George Barton and the caution flag were to fly, they would be able to sneak onto the tail end of the lead lap. But now we got to continue to discuss a little bit of fuel here. George Barton, Jeremy Crandall still has to make a stop. Dale Smalley, Gary Bauer, they elected to stay out. Only people that came in from the lead lap were Connor Anton and Logan Clampett. And you got to think they came in just shy or just past the lap 100 mark. 60 laps, a long way to go. Certainly not feasible without a lot of cautions. You got to think that everybody in this field, lead lap cars, and for the most part, most of these lap machines are still going to have to make at least 1 more stop. So once we hit about lap 120 here in about 12 laps, 12 more circuits from our current position at lap 109, that would mean that pretty much from there on out, you're good till lap 160. Not 170 as this race may take a green and white checker situation. So that's always something to keep an eye on. Expect these guys to try to maybe give themselves a couple more laps. Additionally, we do go into a green-white checker situation. That will be a couple laps of caution that will allow them to save some fuel. So we have a switch up front. George Bark is going to go to the back. 73 of Jeremy Crandall takes lead in that draft. They get hooked up very easily down the back stretch. And a big checkup as, again, Dale Smalley still separated from his partner. His partner, Gary Bauer, started third and had a terrible restart. And now caution on the racetrack. Trouble back in the pack. A huge pile-up in turns 1 and 2. It's going to start with the 3 machine getting turned out of line. A big checkup. The 10 car checks up. That's Craig White. The 3 of Brad Blitch gets turned into the grass and comes back up onto the racing surface. Oh, just nails the 47 of Don Stevenson, the 25, the 64, the 93, the 09, all involved, the 96. Going to get a piece of it as well. 19 gets some damage. A big mess. down in the corner. 93 of Eric Hartley, hard into the inside wall, down the back straightaway. And back under the yellow flag we go. After that incident occurring towards the tail end of our lead lap group of cars. Currently being scored as the first car 1 lap down is the number 33 of Travis Brown. So he may be getting a wave by and a pass back to the lead lap under this caution break. 33 asking the driver of the 27, Gary Bauer, he has any damage, debating on if he would like to come down and pit. But as they determine that, Jeremy Crandall, George Bark into pit road. Do they believe that this is going to be the final stop that they need? I guess that's the general consensus because the 4 of Connor Anton's in, 23 of Logan Clampett down pit road as well. So 4 out of the 7 lead lap cars are going to come down for service. 69, Dale Smalley, 27, Gary Bauer going to stay out. Which means, once again, all those cars 1 lap down are not able to utilize a wave around because not all the lead lap cars came in. But they continue to be trapped that 1 lap down. Still waiting on the wave. The wave is going to be the 33 of Travis Brown. He has been waved around this field, which will make it an 8-car lead lap battle. That could be good news for Harold Decker. Harold Decker, as a lead lap machine, the 44, was out there with no drafting partner.
Absolutely.
So the fuel strategy appears to have been set. Crandall, Bark, Anton, Clampett, all pitting at the lap 1:11.112 mark by the start-finish line. That would lead you to believe that they are hoping that they can make it. Lap 160 mark, that's about 48, 49 laps. Of course, a little bit of caution, but at least, 47, 46 green flag laps, assuming it goes green. Those guys may be banking on a little bit of yellow to stretch this thing out. Because I believe the most we've seen of the green flag conditions fuel-wise was about 43 laps. On 1 tank of that Sunoco Racing fuel. So it was going to put Dale Smalley to the point. Gary Bauer is in 2nd position. And again, Connor Anton, Logan Clampett make up 3rd and 4th. Harold Decker in 5th right now. Jeremy Crandall scored in 6th. George Bark 7th. Travis Brown in 8th. 8 cars do remain on the lead lap. And interesting enough to note that 3 of our lead lap cars are going to be making a little bit of strategy. I know they're talking with each other, trying to determine who is going to be doing what. You obviously got to put the favorites as the Crandall-Bark combination, 6th and 7th on the racetrack. However, they are put back in a little bit of traffic, not really back mid-pack, but they will be not on that front row. And again, in what would somewhere at the range of 102 laps of 1 caution. That means we went 92 laps of a green flag run at one point. Has now seen 2 cautions in less than 10 laps. Very quickly, so a testament to the racing statement, the metaphor that the cautions are going to breed more cautions. So now we wait, and again, these lap down cars, Brandon, they have no way to get their laps back. Car of Brad Blitz just now, actually over the radio, under our yellow flag conditions, is apologizing for the causing of that caution, saying that he got out of line and had that wheel locked all the way to the left. Again, through that grass, there's no grip, and he didn't have not enough apron to get traction, regain traction, and ended up going back up onto the racing surface, ended up plowing into all of those other lead lap cars. So the lights are out on the pace car. We are getting set for what could be, maybe not the final, but one of our final restarts for sure. We work 1:14. Green flag will be at the lap 115 interval, which will give us a 46 lap shootout coming to the checkers here. So out of turn number 4, getting set for another restart. This time, it is the 69 of Dale Smalley in control. Outside of him, Gary Bauer. Pace car to pit road and filled in the hands of Dale Smalley. Green flag flies once again. We're back underway here at Daytona. The 69 of Smalley is going to be forced to go down into one door-to-door with his drafting partner, trying to back off, and he's going to be able to do so enough that Gary Bauer can slide down in front of him from the number 2 spot. That's what they were hoping for. And a bump from the 4 of Connor Anson made that not possible. But 69 is able to drag the brakes a little bit. 23 dives to the bottom. Logan Clampett gets down. So 2 out of the 3 dominant tandems have already been grouped back together. Bauer, Smalley out front in control. The 4 of Anson, the 23 of Clampett in 3rd and 4th, as Jeremy Crandall desperately trying to find his drafting partner, the 42 of George Bart. Working some heavy traffic, 73 dragging brakes, expect the 42 of George Bart to go high. There he does. High to start-finish line, so they are trying to get hooked up, and they've dropped to 0.7 of a second back. Harold Decker, one of our lead lap cars, sits 5th. The 44, however, he does not have help. He's not going to find any help in Bart and Crandall. He's going to have to hope for the lap machine, the 46, to give him a little bit of love and help him out, try to get back up there to those lead positions again. With 8 cars on the lead lap, Decker would have to hook up with Travis Brown. Travis Brown took the wave around, had to start at the end of the longest line. And finds himself, Travis Brown, back in a lot of lap traffic. Meanwhile, Harold Decker all by himself in 5th. And this could be pretty big, considering the fact that George Bart and Jeremy Crandall, that time by, again, there you go, going to drop to 1.2 seconds back from the top spot. They work to the high side. They can see our leaders up in front of them on a racetrack, trying to catch them after getting mirrored back in traffic just a little bit there. And they can't use the fastest way around. We've seen them be able to make passes on the outside lane, but until they can get down in front of that 44 of Harold Decker, who runs 5th, who has help with the 64 car. 64 is going to be helping him out here. That is Cecil Reen, who sits 9th. The second car, actually the first car one lap down, is working with our 5th place machine of Harold Decker. Scoring good update. Bark and Crandall able to knock a 10th off of it. So 1.1 seconds, the interval between the sixth-place machine of George Bark and his Bark competition karting teammate of Jeremy Crandall. Now caution, trouble back in this act down that back straightaway. Apparently from another checkup, multiple cars involved in corner number 2. It's going to be the 25 car of Danny Ryu. Just comes down and turns the 77 into the fence, and hard contact for David Adamson up into the fence in the corner. Trying to see who else is involved. It looks like it is limited to just those 2 drivers. That incident back there. So Gary Bauer is going to be on the point for this upcoming restart that is going to occur within 60 laps to go. Once again, a late race restart, and that one might even bail out Crandall and Bark, who had lost a collected second to our leaders. They were closing. But if you gotta rate them from the fastest of those 3 tandems, again, we were talking about the 3 main tandems. We're referring to Power and Smalley, Anton and Clampett, and Bark and Crandall have by far been the dominant cars. Gotta think George Bark, Jeremy Crandall, by far class of the field. Very close second, however, Logan Clampett, Connor Anton, Gary Bauer, Dale Smalley, who are actually the top 2 on the racetrack right now, are the slower of the bunch, statistically speaking, so far in tonight's race, but their trucks were definitely appreciating that clean air. So they run in final pit stops for Gary Bauer, Dale Smalley in as well, and it looks like Dale Smalley, actually it's going to be the 23 of Logan Clampett, takes out the cone. On entry, Connor Anton down as well, Harold Decker, George Bark, Jeremy Crandall, Travis Brown. Final stops for all of our leaders. They're going to have to go exactly 40 laps as they exit pit road on lap 120. So 41 laps they will have to do under caution. And what a race out of pit road. And it is going to be the 4 of Connor Anton who wins it via that great starting spot. It appears it was the 42 of George Bark who got out second, then Gary Bauer, then the 73 of Jeremy Crandall, then you got Dale Smalley. Travis Brown, the last of our lead lap cars to exit the pit lane. And we're going to see if we can speak to him for a moment. And we are on the radio with the driver of the number 33 machine, Travis Brown. Travis, you got a copy, buddy?
Yeah, I got you.
So you are right now, well, not anymore. We got a couple more cars coming back around. Cecil in the number 64 gets the wave, but you're one of the last cars on the lead lap here. We're going to be going green within less than 40 to go. We're all assuming that's going to be your last stop down pit road for fuel tonight. How are you going to beat those 3 dominant tandems that we've seen so far tonight?
Honestly, I don't know. I think I'm just going to have to get pretty lucky, find the right partner. Teammate Daniel, he got taken out there a couple cautions ago, so kind of out here by myself. So if anybody in this race is watching the broadcast, I need a partner.
You're going to be right around, it looks like the 44 of Harold Decker's in front of you. He is a lead lap machine. Again, you also got the 64 of Cecil is going to be in position number 9. 9 cars on the lead lap. Have you worked with any of those guys in the past? Or are you going to kind of be a stranger to them and just try to hook up with whoever you can?
I'll probably be a stranger and try to hook up with them. I don't know. I'm happy it's Daytona. It's a little more narrow, so everybody kind of stays in a pack. So unless I'm the last car in line here, I think I can stay in the draft whether I have a partner or not, just making moves, and I need a partner.
So it's going to be less than 40 to go. There was a really long, that green flag run that we saw there went from about lap 11 through to lap 102. How'd you navigate that? And we saw that you actually lost your lap in that exchange and were able to get the wave around. What were you guys missing there on those stops that allowed those guys to put a lap on you?
Well, Daniel got into the wall for his first time there, and then lost the draft, and then me and Jay Anderson hooked up, and then I had a terrible pit stop. I screwed it up selecting tires and lost his draft, and he got spun, and something else happened to him, I'm not sure what. And then by the time me and Daniel got hooked up, we had lost the draft, and then we had another round of green flag pit stops, which put us a lap down, which put us in the back, which got us in that wreck, which got me back up towards the front of the lead lap cars, and then finally I got a wave around.
A very complicated and long chain of events there. Well, it looks like you're going to be restarting 5th, right behind the Bark and Crandall tandem, and then the Clampett and Anton tandem as well. Before I let you go back down there in your room, anybody you want to throw a shout out to?
TSB lost control, Bark competition, Pros League. Thank everybody, pros, putting in all the hard work and getting this season ready to go. All the drivers for showing up, and you for commentating this for us. Appreciate it.
All right, well, good luck for the rest of this race, bud.
Appreciate it.
That was a quick word with driver of the number 33 car. Travis Brown spoke to him just now very quickly. Looks like a couple of cars that are in front of our race leader, Logan Clamp, include Michael Johnson, Rodney Smith, and James Hickson. So these cars are able to get their wave arounds. Trying to see if the lights do go off. So they've stayed out from pit road. So we're going to have a whole bunch of these guys. Craig White, Mike Costa, Don Stevenson, handful of drivers able to get their laps back. Hickson, Leah, Stevenson, rather, Mike Costa, Craig White, some of the names that will get a wave around. So it's going to be 14 cars in contention for this one. Travis Brown is going to move up because George Bark and Jeremy Crandall wanted some insurance. So they just took on some more fuel at the lap 122 mark. So if it comes down to it, the Logan Clampett, Connor Anton machines have 3 laps less fuel than George Bark and Jeremy Crandall. So that is going to be the interval if we see either one of these, and you would assume it would be the 23 and the 4 that would have fuel issues before. But again, we've seen guys run about 43 laps of green flag racing, less than 40 go down. So maybe just a little bit of insurance for George Bark and Jeremy Crandall there. Before they get set to finally rock and roll here. The lights are off on the pace car. We get set to go back green flag. It is going to be Clampett, Anton, Brown, can't talk, Gary Bauer, and Dale Smalley, top 5. Trying to see how they're going to work this out. Again, the driver without a partner is Travis Brown. We talked to him. He is in a fray of 3 cars, 3 sets of 2 truck tandems. The iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car time found in the safety of pit road. Field in the hands of the 23. The green flag flies back underway at Daytona. And it is going to be Logan Clampett's machine that sets it off into the lights. He's going to pull up in front of his teammate, the 4 of Connor Anton, going to get hooked up on the outside lane. They're able to clear the 33 of Travis Brown. Again, Travis is going to have no help here on the bottom. 27 from Bauer, 69 Smalley. The 3 guys going to hook up. Those are one of the other tandems here that we've been keeping an eye on. They hook up on the outside. Right now, it is the 33 of Travis Brown. Garnering some draft off of our top 2. But there goes Gary Bauer. There goes Dale Smalley to the outside lane trying to challenge Jeremy Crandall, George Bark, not too far behind. Actually, it's going to be the 64 of Cecil Reen. He has help in 73 of Jeremy Crandall, as George Bark finds himself back with Harold Decker. So the most dominant duo of the race has been separated. Now the 64 of Cecil Reen is up to the back bumper to the 33 of Travis Brown. 5 cars on the inside 2 on the outside. As Bauer leads that outside charge to the 69 of Dale Smalley, is pushing hard down this back stretch here at Daytona. It's the super stretch. Trying to get there, can't quite pull nose to nose with our leaders, but they are there. Looking to give them a run for their money at a corner number 4. Is going to be Logan Clampett at the stripe before of Connor Anton. He's able to hang on to second, but Gary Bauer, Dale Smalley are closing. The 33 of Travis Brown starting to slide back. He does not have help. The 64 stepped out to the outside lane. That's Cecil Reed. He stepped out. Now the 73 of Jeremy Crandall coming up the inside, approaching the back bumper of the 33 of Travis Brown. George Bark still back in the pack, working with the 44 of Harold Tegger.
Cars are coming by this shit.
As now Gary Bauer pulls a nose up at the front of the field. Can't quite clear that inside line. They're going to go back to door. Through 3 for the 4 of Andrew got dangerously high there. Could have caused some problem if the 27 and 69 were lower. Clampett leads this time by. Bauer has his nose up to the door of that 23 truck on the right-hand side, so Bauer will have second by the stripe, Smalley has 4th, as Connor Anton sits in 3rd, still second on the front straightaway. Trouble on the front straightaway. Here, Eric Wharton appears to have blown his engine. The 93 blew his engine all by himself. Eric Wortley's night is done as he was running in position at number 18. So just a quick update on that. No caution. Going to fly for the incident. Logan Clampett continuing to lead the 27-69. Still battling strong on the outside lane. But can't quite get the job done to this extent. The 73 of Jeremy Crandall has found the 42 of George Bark. They are now hooked up on the outside. They're actually going to separate now. The 42 of George Bark dropped back in line to the bottom. And you can anticipate the 44 of Harold Decker would become partners with the 33 of Travis Brown. They are both odd men out in that top 8 group. And that top 8 is put about a second on 9th on back. Cecil Reen, Mike Costa, Craig White, Brett Blade, Don Stevenson, and James Hickson, the cars that took the wave around. They have all dropped to over a second back, but this is a big pack of trucks up at the front of the field. Again, it's still a 2-lane battle. The outside, you need to stay hooked up for enough time, about 2-3 laps, I would say, of good hard pushing. You're going to need to clear those guys on the inside if they are to be pushing on the inside. To the outside, all get nose to tail rather, down to back, and now in through 3 and 4. Bauer, with help from Smalley, still on the outside, door-to-door for the number 1 spot. Gary Bauer trying to lead this lap. Yes, he will. 27 to the point, but just barely. Now Logan Clampett gets it back on the inside, and you see the 27 gets about half a truck. He gets a truck length into 1. The 69 of Smalley sees that. They're trying to push all the way. They become separated. And for that brief moment, when Bauer and Smalley just got separated, just for that little bit, that allowed that 23 of Clampett, the help for the 4 of Connor Anton, to get back to the door on the inside. Outside has had the advantage the last handful of laps. Or gets a little bit loose there. Connor Anton struggling to hold it down to the double yellow line those last few laps. 1 car off pace. Brent Lee is slow back in 10th spot. And he'll drop to 13th after a bobble there. But again, these top 8 cars checking out on the field, nearly 2 seconds over 9th on the back. And again, they are all gridlocked in this 2-wide battle. Will somebody make it 3 wide? Daytona is a lot smaller than going to the 2.66 mile Alabama Superspeedway of Talladega. So that essentially takes away a whole lane. You can look at this from the camera angles that we're bringing to you, and it's there's a lot of room to go 3 wide. You can probably go 4 wide, but when you're behind the wheel of these stock cars, these NASCAR trucks, it feels a lot smaller, especially when you compare it to Talladega, and that's how we heard Travis Brown talk about that. He's not really concerned at this point because it's not a long green flag run of finding a partner, because since the track is smaller, it forces everybody to stay in a pack. And you're seeing that right now. Now this lead draft is, yes, you can definitely see the tandems, but it is essentially one lead draft as opposed to Talladega, where I'm sure we could have seen that 73 of Crandall, the 42 of Bart go high several laps ago. They are stuck for all intents and purposes behind the 27 of Bauer and the 69 of Dale Smalley on the outside lane. And looks like Gary Bauer is going to clear Logan Clampett. He goes to the point, and he tried to hang on and allow Dale Smalley to come with him. He can't get the job done. So now Gary Bauer has jumped down in line in front of the 23 of Logan Clampett, and the 69 of Dale Smalley is actually able to drop down in line to position number 4. So Bauer to the point. However, his drafting partner is separated by another tandem. Now that opens up the outside lane. Dangerous move for the fastest 2 trucks all night long. The 42 machine of George Bart pushing the 73 of Jeremy Crandall. You see Crandall get right up to the door of Smalley and Anton. Through 3 and 4 there. They're trying to stay hooked up on that outside lane. They lose a little bit of time there as they got separated out of 4 and down the front stretch. But right now, Clampett essentially working with Bauer, Anton essentially working with Smalley for the time being. Expect that 23 and 4 may step out of line here. We've seen them do that earlier in this race. They were running 2nd and 3rd, step in line and get around our leader. It all depends, but there goes again that 73 of Crandall, 42 of Bart. Fast and high on the outside lane. A couple of drivers recently retiring from this race. Danny Rioud, David Adamson, Eric Wortley have brought their trucks back to the garage. That leaves us with 19 trucks left in tonight's affair. Kerry Cleveland, the last car in action. Everybody 20th through 27 is no longer on the racing surface. That outside lane is continuing to chip away. And they're starting to close up now as the lead car in that tandem, Jeremy Crandall, gets almost door to door with the 4 of Connor Anton. Anton runs 3rd on the racetrack that last time by. He's 3rd in line on the bottom. And now again, Crandall and Bart get a burst of speed out of corner number 4 to 186 miles an hour by the start-finish line.
Pushing so hard on the end.
And then trying to make that work, not as dominant as they were earlier in the race. You can see that the speed is definitely there for those 2 trucks on the outside lane, but they just can't get that huge run that they were able to do so and really blow the doors off of everybody else, which speaks to the fact that those guys running the inside lane are obviously running a lot stronger. And there they go, 23, Logan Clampett to the outside lane. Connor Anton gonna follow him, and it's gonna be side by side for the lead. I told you that you're gonna have to watch out for these guys. The 27 of Gary Bauer had to have known this was coming. Can they clear that 27 out of X straightaway? Yes, they do. Logan Clampett back to the point. The 4 of Connor Anton. will be sitting in the number 2 spot. Now, 73 Crandall gets up, and again, still nearly door-to-door with Connor Ante, but not entirely. Down and through the corner. Crandall on the outside now and nearly making it side by side for that number 1 and number 2 spots. But again, with that inside lane, you have that security. Gary Bauer by himself, 3rd car on the bottom. His partner is about to be delivered to him first-class priority now because the 33, Travis Brown, is pushing that 69 to Dale Smalley right up to his back bumper. So now 5 cars bumping him up on the inside. That reconnects the 27 and the 69 of Smalley and Bauer, who have been working together all race long. That again will leave the 33 of Travis Brown without help. Harold Decker slowly sliding back, actually has help in the 47 of Don Stevenson. But they are just a little bit behind, so still a lot of trucks in realistic contention. However, it's still a tale of these top 3 tandems, I must say. Obviously being Clampett Anton, Crandall Bart, and Bauer Smalley. And now Crandall's getting that push. That 42 of George Clark has been tucked up behind him for a long time, giving it everything they have to try to get their Bart competition karting machines out to the point. And again, still cannot do so, but they've been making up significant headway. They now have company out behind them, the 44 of Harold Decker, now the 3rd car in line on the outside, with help from the 47 of Don Stevenson. And we're hearing they are approaching a little bit of lap traffic. That car going to yield to the high side. That is Michael Johnson's number 004 machine in 17th. This time he will go 3 laps down as our leaders go to the bottom and clear him. That forces him over to 3 wide. Everybody able to hang on. But again, I get Crandall and Bart trying to stay with it at the front of this field. But they continue to put in the effort. On the outside lane, they have not yet been able to clear them. And you see, again, to get really, really close with that side draft down through corners 1 and 2. Another lap machine to go on by, appearing to be the 24, James Hickson. Got a wave around, but was not able to get back to the lead lap and catch the pack when he went that green flag racing. So he has lost his lap once again. That leaves 12 cars in competition here on the lead lap-wise as we start to close in on the end of this race. That was 20 laps to go. That time by the stripe. Of Connor Anton is really pushing hard on the Logan Clampett machine. And those 2 cars have the position, and they are forcing that 73-42 tandem of Crandall and Bart to really work for the money out there on the outside lane. And still side by side, this time by the start-finish line, Crandall with a push. It is still going to be Logan Clampett at the stripe by 1/100th of a second. So these guys have been side by side for the better portion of going on about 8-9 laps now since the restart. 10 plus laps for that matter, continuing to race it out strong. And again, this back straightaway is going to be one of the best shots. And it comes back to the fact, and I touched on this earlier, is you're going to be on the outside lane. That's a problem on corner entry. You're going to go up that hill, you're going to lose your momentum. If you're on the inside, it's almost like diving down in there to try to hug that yellow line. The place that the outside lane where they're going to benefit the most is going to be corner exit. It's going to be like coming off of the hill, try to get that little bit of extra speed, especially if you're hooked up. But again, you see the 42 of George Bark running a smart race. He's kind of leaning, and he's not staying directly behind the 73, keeping his nose out to the side a little bit, making sure that his Bark Competition Karting Chevrolet gets air to it. Sim Racing Authority machine of Connor Anton, number 4, continues to run second in line on that inside lane. Race leader is still the 23 of Logan Clampett. But again, that 73 of Jeremy Crandall, with help from Bark, have been applying some serious pressure on the outside lane, not letting the 23 get away. The Brandon Hawk Racing 23 of Logan Clampett continues to lead up at the front of this field. Through 1 and 2, currently in the works lap 144, the Bones Racing Firecracker 400 from the Daytona International Speedway, the Mrs. Duckside Super Truck Pro Series. George Bark, Season 1 champion, looking to kick off his Season 2 campaign right tonight in a victory lane. He currently runs 4th on the racetrack. Look at him right now, he's 3rd. He was 4th last time by the stripe. There you go, you see door to door, the 73 of Crandall gets there, but corner entry just runs out of room. Clampett is able to get that run, and again, here you go, you see those guys on the outside make that momentum back up, and it's going to be the exact same thing, lap in and lap out, until somebody may be even forced to make an error. Until that point, I don't really see one of these lanes really being able to prevail. One thing that this has done is that it has allowed the rest of these lead lap cars to become a part of this. 9, or rather 11 out of the 12 lead lap cars are within 4/10 of a second of each other. Only car that has kind of dropped back is Cecil Reen, and he's dropped back to about 2 seconds back in this one, but it is still side by side, and it is still very competitive racing up at the front of this field. That time by 8:15 laps to go in this night's affair. Again, that 4 of Connor Anton has got to be getting hot. He slides up a little bit and actually nearly gets into the side of the 73 of Jeremy Crandall. And now free wide contact and around at the front of the field, the 73 of Jeremy Crandall hard in the defense. George Bark in it as well. As through 1 and 2, the 42 of Bark went to get on the back bumper. Something happened, and the 73 of Jeremy Crandall just barely slid up the hill. And we were following that battle, so you could see that happen. And again, the 73 just slides up the hill. George Bark comes down a little bit just as the 42 of Connor Anton slides up a little bit. The 4 nearly loses it, but the 73 gets turned. Looks like Gary Bauer, Dale Smalley, they'll survive, but the 10 cars in it, the 6 truck also involved. The 96 with damage, the 46 with damage. And just talked about the dominant duo, Jeremy Crandall, George Bark. George Bark, defending series champion, in a big wreck there through turns 1 and 2. Back under yellow we go for the 4th time this evening. After a tough break, after both of the Bark competition karting machines got involved, and we saw that on a replay angle there. And again, a tough break for a bunch of these guys, those guys that had been working so hard, especially Bark and Crandall, that were working so hard on the outside lane to try to stay competitive, stay up there. And again, just like that, 145 laps in, are able to fight it out, and evidently are going to end up in the fence when it is all said and done. Going to try to keep an update on their trucks. They are coming in for damage repair, currently being scored in 10th and 11th on the racetrack. And they enter their stalls. No quick repairs out here at Daytona. So unlike some iRacing leagues that allow a couple of quick fixes where you come in and you get a quick fix, exactly that. Your car goes right back to 100%. That's not the case here. So those guys, I'm sure, have a black flag to some extent. They have some required damage that they need to get repaired. But not only that, is also optional damage repairs that they can do. And again, that's pretty much going to do it after their nights looked very, very strong. And that's going to open up the window for a couple of these guys that got back to the lead lap that may not have been up front all night long to try to steal a top 5, a top 3, and maybe even a win. You got to think that most recent incident has to put this in the hands of the 23 of Logan Clampett. The 4 of Connor Hanton have been the best out of these tandems, excluding those BART competition karting machines who had, again, just a little bit over them over this race, but fairly even action. You saw that Hinton and Clampett were able to hold them off on that inside lane, were able to do so rather successfully. So you got to think this is going to put it in the 23 and the 4's wheelhouse, but this is also going to make us have to talk about the possibility of having to go for a green-white checker situation. Against 160 laps is tonight's affair. You're taking a look up at the ticker. Just out of 170 laps is the distance in the sim, but 160 is 400 miles. The Bones Racing Firecracker 400, and those additional 10 laps give it the option that they could replicate what would be a green-white checker finish. But 160 laps is tonight's affair. Again, iRacing, for some reason, not having the ability to, or not giving us the ability quite yet here to put green-white checkers as a system. So another thing that pros does that you won't see in a lot of leagues is adding those additional 10 laps to if necessarily, give these guys a shot at a couple more restarts. And again, all those lap intervals, how many laps they will have, what lap they will deem as their yellow flag, or rather their white flag and their checker flag, would all be determined via race control and George Park, depending on what situation is presented late in tonight's affair. But again, approaching 2.5 hours of racing action. And this thing is coming to a close here in not too long. And the lights are still on the pace car. And we'll give you another full field rundown here as we have a little bit of a chance to catch our breaths here under the caution flag. Let you know where everybody has kind of cycled out to. So Logan Clampett in the #1 position. Connor Hanton sits 2nd. Harold Decker in 3rd. Dale Smalley in 4th. Gary Bauer in 5th. Don Stevenson sitting in 6th spot. Travis Brown 7th. Cecil Reen in 8th. George Bark 9th. Mike Costa 10th. 11th. James Hickson. Jeremy Cranville 12th. Craig White 13th. Andrew Heigl in 14th. Rodney Smith 15th. 16th. Robert O'Neill, and actually a switch there. Robert O'Neill is going to go up to 15th. Kerry Cleaver 16th. Michael Johnson 17th. And now Rodney Smith back to 18th. Brent Lay in 19th. 20th. Eric Wortley. Danny Riud is 21st. And then everybody back there, again, still the same retirees. David Adamson, Brad Blitch, Daniel Miller, Jay Anderson, Ralph Shipman, Michael Whitlock. Those drivers that sit 18th on back. And actually, a little bit of a change there. Craig White has just disconnected from the sim, so that will leave us with 16 cars on the track. 12 of them going to be on the lead lap here. The lights have been extinguished. It will be a 10 lap to go. Shootout. Will it be the last caution flag? Cautions. 3 to cautions. We will have to see. We went the first half of the race with only 1 caution and over 92 laps of green flag racing. This second portion of the race has seen 4. We will have to see if they can do 10 more, or if we do see another caution, we will keep you up to date again on what laps will mean what as far as the white flag and the checkered flag in tonight's race. Here we go through 3 and 4. Top 2 rows is going to be Logan Clampett, Connor Anton. First and second, making up the front row. Expect those two to try to get together and set sail. 44 of Harold Decker in the mix in third. Dale Smalley fourth, Gary Bauer fifth. Those two have been working together. But let's see how this is going to go down. Pace car gets set to dive down to the safety of pit road, and Logan Clampett in control of the field. The green flag flies. We are racing once again under the lights here at Daytona. 10 laps to go. The Bones Racing Firecracker 400. You're watching the Pros Racing Mrs. Dockside Super Truck Pro Series Season 2 opener. And up front, the 44 of Harold Decker trying to muscle his way to the lead. Down on the bottom is Playboy Chevrolet. He has Dale Smalley, the Talladega Night style car with me on the side of it. And a big checkup on the inside lane. A big checkup. Going to kill the momentum for the inside lane. And just like that, it looked like the 44 was going to be able to put a nose in there for the lead. That checkup is going to allow Logan Clampett, Connor Anton to get that back down in line. And control once again in positions number 1 and 2. As for a moment, we single file out as everybody tries to find a position. The 69 of Dale Smalley sits 4th. With help from Gary Bauer, expect him to leave the 44 out to dry. Yes, he does. How to get Harold Decker without having that drafty partner. Showing due dividends how important it is. He's going to get left on the inside. 69 to Smalley, 27 of Bauer, going to clear him, but now look at the 33 of Travis Brown to the middle. 3 wide down the back with help from George Barton. Can they split the gap to the bottom? Yes, they do. A great move from 33 and the 42, trying to win this thing out of nowhere. Again, the 42 of George Barton was working with Jeremy Crandall all race long. The Crandall machine has very severe damage in comparison to the damage on Bart's 42. And now the 64 of Cecil Ring to the bottom. It is a race for this win up front as within 10 laps to go. The action. Fluid up front. We're hearing the 24 of James Hickson. Lead lap car, position 11, has run his tank nearly out of gas. And he is on fumes. Everybody else again up front here, they came down to top off with 40 to go, 39 to go, so they are good for the rest of this race. 69 to Dale Smalley, thinks about making it 3 wide down the back, but now into 3 and 4, he dives back in line for the time being. Logan Clampett, one of the cars that has definitely led the most laps, but look at the 33 on the outside with help from George Bark. Travis Brown trying to get in contention to win this race. On the outside, he is clear of Clampett. Does he leave George Bark out to dry? On the outside lane, 23 of Clampett gets a nose in there on Travis Brown at a corner number 2. Down the back straightaway, it is a drag race. Again, Travis Brown to the point. He is clear of the inside. Does he leave the 42 of George Bark? Down through 3 and 4. on lap 154. And again, they become separated. And the 33 doesn't want to leave George Bark out to dry, maybe for one of two reasons. One, 42 is very easily the possibility, and the reason why Travis Brown is in the #1 spot right now. Travis Brown restarted that last time about like 5th or 7th on the racetrack. So the 42, very strong, and is able to push that 33 up on the outside lane. Or he feels like if he jumped down the line, Dale Smalley and George Bark would hook up at the outside lane and he'd get past by both of them. Either way, Logan Clampett has been able to be the most comfortable out of all of this. Again, as he currently runs in position #1 on the inside. They get real close as they try to get that side draft. And down by the stripe, 5 laps to go. And it is Travis Brown on the outside, trying to hang on. 4 cars up high, 4 on the bottom. The bottom is Clampett, Anton, the 64 of Ring, and the 6 of Costa. Outside, you have Brown, Bart, Smalley, and Ballard. This time through 3 and 4, I don't see these guys getting single file anytime soon, because even with all that help from the 42 of George Bart, Travis Brown has just been unable to clear Logan Clampett, but they make it close at the stripe every time. That time, it was 9 1/1000s that separate this field at 4 to go. But again, you see those guys on the outside just for a brief moment get separated. They don't get separated on the inside line, and that means that even if you're running fast on the outside when you're hooked up, you can't stay locked. You can't stay locked to that back bumper. They're going to get you. Look how fast that outside is when they push. The 42 is just begging for air. George Bart trying to get the nose out just to the right side to make sure that he doesn't blow his truck up. We've seen about 2-3 guys blow their engine over tonight's 160-lap affair. This time by, it is going to be Travis Brown who has the advantage at the start-finish line. We're hearing a couple guys reading that water temperature, the oil temperature. So they got a whole bunch of blinking going on their dashboard. They're getting hot. Here is the run that the outside lane needs. They're going to clear them out of nowhere. George Bart and Travis Brown with a huge run down the back straightaway, and they have set sail by 6 car lengths, coming to 2 to go, and they could make this a 2-horse race. It is Logan Clampett in 3rd, lap car yielding high. It's Jerry Crandall. One more circuit to the white flag, and this race will end at lap 160. Down to backstretch for the second to last time. Logan Clampett, Connor Anton looking up in front of them and seeing a lead that they have held for nearly 100 laps. And nearly 100 laps in a row. They have been dominant. And they are seeing it slip away. Will they make it? Lap 160. White flag is in the air and 2.5 miles to the checkered flag. Down into corner numbers 1 and 2. The gap between the top 2 tandems has been minimized. It's 4 truck lengths. It's 3. It is 2. Here they come at a quarter number 2. Logan Clampett and a Ford of Connor Anton with a huge burst of speed. They get to the back bumper of George Bart, who continues to push Travis Brown into 3 and 4 for the final time. Who is going to get it? Do you want to be Travis Brown leading? Do you want to be George Bart pushing? Who's going to step out of line first? Through 3 and fourth. The final time and off the corner, coming for the checkered flag. Travis Brown with a little bit of a blank. The 42 of George Hart, no challenge. Travis Brown is going to win the Bones Racing Firecracker 400. George Hart going to walk away with a second place finish. And Logan Clampett is going to finish in position number 3. And everybody is going to hold their current positions. And the idea is, again, with those 10 additional laps, that the race control is going to have the rest of these drivers run out these final 10 laps until they reach the lap 170 mark, but not change any positions in order to the point where it would make the race official. Currently discussing, because again, a lot of these guys set up their fuel strategy. All right, and this race is going to end. Everybody's going to bring them to a halt in 3 and 4 because these drivers don't have enough fuel to make those extra 10 laps, which they might have needed. Competition caution will be thrown, but it is Travis Brown going to walk away in victory lane here, and we're going to try to talk to a couple of these guys here before we step away. Tonight's race just surpassing 2.5 hours of racing action. In the end, after 160 laps, it is done. Travis Brown, again, we talked to him, and he was the odd one out that didn't have any help. George Bart gets into it with his drafting partner, and next thing you know, he's able to get help with the 42 of George Bart, and by doing so, he's able to get that heck of a push down that back straightaway out of nowhere. And again, they were side by side for what appeared to be the longest time, and I pretty much called it. They're going to be stuck side by side, and out of nowhere, a huge run down that backstretch, coming up to 2 to go, and they are able to walk away with the win. Travis Brown doing some burnouts here on the front straightaway to celebrate his win, and we're gonna drag him on up here and talk to him. So, Travis, we just talked to you, and you were the odd man out. Now you're gonna go to victory lane. How'd you get it done?
Heck of a push from George Bart. Gotta thank him. He really helped me out there.
Definitely coming up to those final restarts and knowing that a little bit of uncertainty going into that. Was your plan really to just see what you could get done? And then again, you got that great push there at the end to get that win. Did you have any kind of strategy going into that final restart, or were you just hoping for the best?
I was just going to hold it to the floor and hope for the best. I knew I was the odd man out, but I just knew if I protected the bottom till I got me a partner that I could maybe make a move once I had my partner, but till then I just needed to hold the bottom and try not to give up too much position.
You're able to sneak away in victory lane here tonight. What does that mean for you and the 33 crew, able to knock off that first win on that second season there in the first race, give you a little bit of confidence moving forward, I guess?
Oh yeah, it definitely is going to give us a lot of momentum going into the rest of the season. So this is a great way to start off the season. Pretty excited about the rest of it.
Definitely. Before we let you go, we'll give you another opportunity. Sponsors and shout-outs, whoever you want to thank. The mic's all yours.
Yeah, Bart Competition, TSP Loss Control. Like I said, all the drivers, admins, everybody pros. Everybody like that. George, once again, for pushing me. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have won.
Definitely, that is Travis Brown. He walks away our winner in tonight's Bone Racing Firecracker 400. And now we're talking to the driver of the number 42 who pushed him to that win. George, did you not think at any point of stepping out for that win?
No, right before the restart, I told Travis, let's go win the race. So the whole plan was just push him all the way to the end.
Talk us through that incident there that happened. I know you were working with the 73 of Jeremy Crandall all night long and got a little bit jumbled up there in 1 and 2 when you both ended up in the fence. What happened?
Yeah, I had cars behind me pushing me at the time, and I really made a mistake, to be honest with you. I pushed him too hard, he went up, and I let off, and I ended up getting into number 4, and then driving right into Jeremy there and just wrecking his whole night. You know, it was a shame. I didn't really mean to do that. That was not the plan at all, Evan.
Well, moving forward, obviously, into this second season, coming off and being the defending champion, not quite in victory lane, but I know you pushed Travis Brown to that win. So obviously, you got to feel like you have a competitive car. You and Crandall, definitely the most competitive and maybe the strongest two-truck tandem, I guess we should say here, out at the racetrack tonight. That's got to give you a little bit of confidence moving forward, knowing that you still have a little bit of an upper hand on the field.
Yeah, a little bit. It's a long schedule. We don't come back to a super speedway for another 8 races, so it's going to be a tough schedule here with the tracks that we have for this season. Definitely should be fun, though.
Any sponsors and shout-outs you want to throw out there?
Gotta thank my partner Jeremy and me and Travis. My buddy Travis there working with me at the end. All the drivers that came out tonight, thank you. It was a pretty good race as far as no cautions and everything was clean. Thanks, guys.
That is George Bark. He comes home second after dominating most of this race, able to recover for a second place finish. Now we're down here and we've caught up with Logan Clampett, who's going to come home in third. And Logan, you got a copy on the radio?
Yeah.
It looked like you and Connor Anton had one of the most dominant duos also all night long, and all of a sudden down the back straightaway, approaching 2 laps to go, you lost a little bit of speed there coming out of corner number 2. I know you made it side by side that whole time, and what happened there down the backstretch that allowed those 2 to pull up in front of you?
I believe Travis blinked out and they had lag draft, so they were a lot faster than us. Couldn't catch them. I just think it's a bunch of crap. That iRacing logic happened.
Well, 160 laps, and we had something like 92 laps of green flag racing in this thing. And how are you and Connor able to stay up there? I know that you guys had to negotiate a couple of green flag pit stops and whatnot. How are you able to stay up front? Because a lot of the guys in this field dropped like a rock. What was it that gave you guys the ability to stay up there with those guys that were running up front, like George Bark and Jeremy Crandall?
Almost every stop we took 2 tires, good pit in, good pit out. I don't know how we got really far ahead of Gary and Dale. I think it was like 12 seconds then the caution came out. Then at the end, I was forcing them up the track a little bit, then cutting down, trying to get a run off.
Definitely. Well, before we let you go here, obviously you're going to walk away with a 3rd place finish to kick off this season, and not too bad. We heard George talk on the fact that you're not going to be back at a super speedway for about 8 more weeks, 8 more races moving forward. So although it's not really an accurate gauge, again, the super speedways are much of a different animal. You got to feel confident moving forward here. Any sponsors and shout outs that you want to thank?
My team, Fastlane Motorsports. Thanks for Connor Anton helping me. Brandon Hawk Racing for the support. That's all.
Alright, and definitely. Well, 10-4. Congrats on the 3rd place finish, and we look to see you up front moving forward.
Thank you.
That's pretty much going to wrap things up here from Daytona. Again, the Mrs. Dockside Super Truck Pro Series Season 2. Opening up tonight on Pros League TV. The Bones Racing Firecracker 400 comes to a close after 160 laps. We saw green flag racing. We saw big pile-ups, which Daytona and Talladega have been known to grow accustomed to, and we saw great racing as always. In the end, Travis Brown going to sneak up in the end with a great shove from George Bart, goes to victory lane. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Evan Pasoko, and we'll see you for future races here on the Pros Racing Network.